accountant just emailed to say your quarterly taxes are way higher than you were expecting.
At Progressive, we know small business owners don't usually like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting discounts with a commercial auto quote from Progressive.
Also, your favorite employee is leaving. They're going to pursue their dream of being a veterinarian.
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
WFOM and W292EV Marietta, a Dickey broadcasting station. This hour is presented by Subaru of Gwinnett. You'll love the difference. The Morning Extra, only on Extra 106.3.
Morning, y'all. Tug and Los on the Morning Extra until 10. How y'all been? I sure miss y'all.
I think you're lying to me, but we'll start right there on a Tuesday.
I swear. I woke up, I don't know, 3:30 this morning.
Thinking about Jerry?
Well, how you doing, big fella?
Pondering him out.
Yeah, exactly.
I wonder if he misses me.
Yeah.
So you're like holding onto the pillow a little too tight. I wonder if they forgot who I am.
Yeah, that's right.
There's a little extra spring in your step this morning.
No, I woke up at like
fresh as a daisy.
3:30 this morning, and had to make myself lay there for another 20 minutes or so, and then got on up. But no, really, I missed y'all. I missed my routine. Sometimes you get out of your routine and it's just you don't like it.
Boggles the mind a little bit.
And I know that because I
don't care for it.
No, I was looking forward to being away for a day or two. Went and saw my son play ball in their conference tournament. They ended up losing yesterday. Got rain, caused everything to kind of push back. We were supposed to move him out. Did none of that. Zero. I mean, we didn't move a box. We didn't pack a box because we were in Lexington, South Carolina, where the tournament was, just about 15 minutes from Columbia, University of South Carolina is. And he lives in Sumter, which is about an hour and 45 from there. So it was not conducive for the move. And I don't know how we didn't put any of it together. But we thought for sure that, we'd have a chance to go box up some things, and turns out we didn't.
So what does he have this week? Is there
He's got one final. Okay. One final on Wednesday.
So then you have to go back this weekend,
yeah,
and get him packed up.
Yeah. To drive 4 hours and 15 minutes to Sumter to pack him up and then turn around and drive right back home.
Well, at least you get him at home for the summer.
Yeah, well, no, we don't. We get him for
sort
three
of.
weeks.
3 weeks, and then he takes off for the next league.
To North Carolina to play in that little, I forget what it's called.
Is it Wood Bat League?
Yeah, it is. But it's like the Old North League or something. But it's right there. He's going to be in Oak Island, North Carolina, which I hear is stunning. So we've rented a house for his birthday about midway through, because he'll be there June and July and a little bit of August, and then back home for like a blink of an eye, and then off to the next spot, which we think is going to be Augusta University. We're almost positive, 99.9% positive that'll be it.
It's a good opportunity.
Certainly is. And he's excited about it, I think. There's a couple, when you do those conference tournaments, there's lots of coaches there, and there were, I don't know, probably about 10 or 12 a day from different schools that were there in and out, and there's a couple of schools that talked to him, and which is flattering, but at the same time, when you start looking at, an in-state school versus an out-of-state school, even if they're going to, offer you, a good deal, it still doesn't beat the in-state deal with hope.
Yeah, that's always going to be the challenge, that money that you're getting from the state based on your grades and what you've done. I think it's really difficult for those schools unless they're basically a military academy where we've got everything from start to finish. It always makes a lot of sense to stay in state.
Yeah, it does. So I think that's
at least financial sense.
Yes, absolutely. Well, that was the thing, though. So I told him, I was like, hey, I'm not telling you don't go on a visit to these places, because the minute you say don't do it, that's when they're hell bent on doing it. So I was even keeled about it. I was like, hey man, listen to what they say.
Yeah, your call.
Go visit, absolutely. But then let's sit down together and let's break out a calculator. Because if you go in state and you've got hope, and then they're paying for everything else, you're going to leave with zero debt. And mom and daddy has already saved enough to pay off the debt that we made you get. No, I didn't tell them this. But
okay.
in my head, I'm like, we'll be able to pay off the debt you've taken out. I alluded to it, but I didn't spell it out. Wanted him to let the math work on his own.
Oh, he's doing those calculations.
Yes, he was. Yeah, it was. I was glad. There, because let me tell you, there for a minute, about midway, would have been Saturday evening probably. He, a couple of schools to talk to him, and he was feeling all.
Yeah, I'm in charge.
Fat and sassy.
Who's the man here?
That's right.
Everybody wants me here.
That's right. And there was lots of teams talking to lots of kids. It was great.
He's staring down that student debt like a slow fastball coming down Main Street.
Dude, I'm telling you, he had been concerned about it already. So yeah, for him it was like, So anyway, I was glad that he was doing the math, and it helped him. What about you? So you text me Nationals bid.
So
when we had talked, because I wasn't sure if I was supposed to be cheering or not there for a minute, because you had told me there was one you weren't sure you wanted to get.
We got what we wanted. We were out there. First off, we take this for granted. Like my wife, when she was growing up playing volleyball, had a little Huntsville, Alabama, Rocket City Volleyball Club. They would dream of what would it be like to go to Nationals? And every year when we're there, it's her entire Facebook group. Oh, it's so cool that you were here. And when they run into them at qualifiers, it'll be so great if we ever got to go to Nationals. We've been to Nationals every year since we were 11 because of the club we play at and the quality at which they play. So we're in again. They went 6-1 on the weekend.
That's great.
Got it done. And then the fun part was even our 10-year-olds. This was the first time they played other 10-year-olds where it was a 10-year-old tournament because they don't exist. And they're gearing up for their own Nationals in Orlando. They stomped everyone.
Let's go.
So we had a big. I think they finished either. I want to say they combined to go 11-1 on the weekend. So it was a really good weekend for the girls to play. And they're playing good. They're playing good volleyball. It was a lot of fun.
Just stomping mud holes.
They're both going to get to do their thing, and we wanted to make sure because you book everything ahead of time. So it's a little presumptuous when you're booking your hotel in Dallas at the end of the year, being like, "We're going to Nationals." Sure enough, so we booked the flights as of yesterday, and we're all set. So I will see you guys for 4 episodes of this show in the month of June in Orlando and Dallas.
Dude, my fan is going to be just
gone
all over the place.
I'll probably end up doing the show from the hotel room a few times.
Okay, we'll figure it out, man. We always do. So we were coming home from South Carolina yesterday, and right before we got in the car to leave from Lexington, South Carolina, which is about 3 hours and 15 minutes or so, from home, my buddy texted me the Pearl Jam concert from night 2, and so I relived the Pearl Jam concert that I went to this past Thursday all the way home.
This is what I was wondering about.
Dude, it was amazing because I'll admit I'd had a few.
It's a little not exactly the clearest on everything.
Yeah, I was a little sideways by the end of it.
You stroll into this radio station at about 5 o'clock every morning.
Yeah.
We're getting texts after 12 a.m. that night.
Oh, I didn't even realize that. Wow. How about that? Yeah, so it was awesome. I had more fun than everybody else that I was with.
I'm happy for you.
Had a great time.
In that text thread, you said, greatest show I've ever seen. Now, I've been in radio about half as long as you, and I've been to thousands of shows. Do you stand by that?
I gotta tell you, man, listen to it on the way home. It's up there. If it ain't the best, it's up there.
All right.
It was amazing. Eddie Vedder sounded great. He didn't get into politics at all.
Good.
He was very vocal the entire show. My wife even asked me in my staggering, "Hey, does he normally talk this much?" And I was like, "Nope, not really." But he's kind of come out of his shell a little bit. He talked about Jeff Ament, the bass player for Pearl Jam. Yeah. His big friends. I don't know who Coach Q is of the Hawks. Do y'all know who that is?
Coach Q?
That's what Eddie Vedder said from the stage. He said, Jeff Ament, huge fan of Coach Q, who coaches the Hawks, who's here with his 4 kids, and it's their first rock concert. He talked about that.
Did he have the Mookie Blaylock jersey on?
I don't recall seeing a Mookie Blaylock jersey, but they did post the set list with a Mookie jersey.
Okay.
And he explained, why they're, such fans of Mookie Blaylock. And he said, if I had a little boy, I was going to name him Mookie Blaylock, but I had 2 girls. And then he went on to talk about, the fact that Pearl Jam was called Mookie Blaylock, and 10 is called 10 because that was Mookie's number. And he also went on to talk about how many records they recorded here in Atlanta at Southern Tracks, which, they recorded like 4.
The current head coach of the Atlanta Hawks is Quinn Snyder.
So there we go. So it must be Coach Q. But he said Jeff and Bent and Coach Q have been dear friends for a really long time. They talked about Pistol Pete Maravich's jersey hanging in the rafters. A lot of connections to Atlanta with recording 4 albums here at Southern Tracks. And the story I'd heard but I'd forgotten about was the song Better Man. When they recorded it, they were, again, recording in Atlanta.
Vitology.
That's right, from 1994. And they couldn't get the sound the way they wanted it. They recorded it over and over. They had actually recorded it for a couple different record sessions. It finally worked out for Vitology. But what they did was when they couldn't recreate the guitar sound that they wanted. Do you remember in 1994 when they did the show at the Fox that was broadcast all over the country? They took the guitar, silenced out the crowd, took the guitar out of that show and used it in the recording for Vitology because that's the sound they wanted.
That's pretty cool.
I know, right? I had heard that story years ago, hadn't thought about it in years. So when he started telling it, it kind of started coming back to me. I was like, wait a minute, I remember this.
I think it's fascinating that we end up talking about these things, like, for instance, the Mookie Blaylock story. And for anyone who's listened to that band for any amount of time, you know this stuff inside and out. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was right in your face in the 90s. They've been around so long that new listeners have no idea, new fans.
That's right.
People that after 30 years, they've forgotten this sort of stuff.
That's exactly
I mean, their club was 10 Club.
That's right.
So there's like little things as they tell the story, you're like, oh yeah.
You start putting it all together.
That's right. I didn't know that about Better Man. That's really cool.
Yeah, they couldn't recreate the sound that they created in the Fox in '94 on that. And it's so funny, Los and Dre. I bought that bootleg.
Yeah.
Because they had aired it on 99X back in the day. Mm-hmm. And I bought the bootleg. And it was back when bootlegs were like $50. It was hard to get.
You knew the wrong people.
Well, yeah, exactly. Clearly. We had a little.
I was selling them for 20. You would have done really well with me.
That's right, because you
just wait for Napster.
Yeah, no kidding. But you were so far ahead with internet and websites.
We were downloading all of them.
Exactly right. And that was before I was anywhere around that. So we had this little record store in Dalton, Georgia called Sky Dog Records, and that's all they did was stock bootlegs. And let me tell you, they charged you. I took my whole paycheck down there and bought that Pearl Jam bootleg.
That was such a wild time in the 90s because you started to have, and this was right before we hit the internet age where everyone starts sharing concerts, but you would have different acts that would start saying, well, we need to put out a live album so that people stop making money off our bootlegs. Mm-hmm. So, like, one of the first ones I remember was, and it was not that good, it was Dave Matthews and Tim Reynolds, and it was one of their acoustic shows.
Yes.
And the first time I heard it, I went, that is dog crap to what compared to, like, what's out there. It's, like, just a better recording. But that's what you had going on. It was, we need to slow down all this bootlegging. Little did they know within about 3 or 4 years, yeah, everybody would have everything on their computers anyway.
Dude, and if you recall, it was started in 2000. Pearl Jam released their entire tour. Every stop. Because I went to 2 of them. I went to the Atlanta show, and then I went to the Saratoga Springs show up near where my wife Laura's from. And I bought both of those because I just thought it was great. I was like, holy cow, this is great. And they would have them, like the next day. They would have recorded it, mastered it, have it out the next day. And that's where they, that was all part of what you're talking about. How do we stomp down these people selling our music?
I've got it in the basement. There's a box. I haven't even really gone through it. In fact, I hadn't even probably opened it in about 10 or 12 years. I'm going to see what bootlegs I have down there today. Okay. It's going to be like one of my new missions. I'm going to go rooting around for bootlegs and see because I used to just have a stack of different albums, dates, everything else. Yeah. And I don't know exactly what's down there, but I'm going to go see what I got down there.
That's awesome. That's so cool. I can't wait to see
treasure hunt right now.
That's exactly right. I mean, I remember buying the Nirvana bootleg of of the Unplugged. Same with Pearl Jam, same with Allison. Just before they had released it, MTV hadn't even started releasing them.
Yeah, because I've got the actual version of MTV Unplugged
The official.
the official one.
Right.
But yeah, no, that was a big deal when you got a hold of some of those bootlegs, or even like growing up in Texas, it was a big deal when you could get a hold of the 99X recordings.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, a live
X
studio, a Live X, and that's how you knew across the country who 99X was.
That's right, man. They were the brand leader of that. And, they did things that nobody else did. That's what was so cool.
Did you get your fries?
Buddy, I did not.
No payoff on the fries.
No, dude. I ate about 4 bags of potato chips, though.
Well, whatever you got to do. I had a lot of fries.
Sort of counts.
Did you?
There was just not a lot of options while we're going back and forth from the Georgia World Congress Center to the hotel. And so there's quite a few times where I just looked at a friend of mine's plate and I'm like, you can eat those fries.
I'll take those.
Taters is taters.
Dude,
right.
I freaking love potatoes. Who doesn't? It was a terrific weekend. Sounds like it was a great weekend for you too, Los, and the girls doing so well. I'm going to have to make an additional trip to Sumter, but it'll be good. It'll be good to get Jacob home for 3 weeks or so before he takes back off. How was yours, Dre? You had a good weekend or no?
Yeah, buddy.
Well, I mean, nothing. You
A
just,
little brown water, couple of naps, watching some playoff hockey.
Listen,
It's been made known to me that hockey is not a popular topic on Atlanta radio, so I don't bring it up.
that man is very even keeled. He just needs a little brown water,
couple of
little
naps.
playoff competition. He's happy.
and a nap. Who doesn't love a good nap?
I'll tell you, and I don't jump into it. Last night in the association, it was pretty big.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. Oh, by the
good.
way, and across the street, AJ Smith-Shaver.
Dude. Ooh. So did he
One
finish?
hitter.
Was it one hit? Okay.
1 hit over 8.
Because I'd gotten the update saying that it was in the 7th and he still had a no-hitter going. And, man, I don't know what time. We just, we got home and started unpacking and you just lose track of time.
He
and
gave up a hit to start the 8th inning. It was either a strikeout or flyout, and then got a double play ground ball, and that was it. He came out of there, and I believe he did it all in like 97 pitches.
Good.
He was dominant last night.
Very efficient.
Ooh, and you saw one of the nastiest injuries in Major League Baseball. The left fielder for the Cincinnati Reds. He's going down, right down the left field line. He makes the catch momentarily, and his entire forearm and wrist crash into the wall. And you knew it was broken immediately by how he grabbed it.
Yeah.
The ball ends up falling out of the glove.
This is like 4th major league game, right?
Yeah, it was pretty early in his career. Matt Olson gets the inside park to homer because everybody's just running until they stop it.
Yeah.
But he ended up leaving the game with a broken a broken forearm.
Oh,
but man, so when you see it in the box score, that it says Matt Olson homer,
I was gonna say, he's not
that's
that
what
fast.
it was. That was the 4-0. That was your game last night.
Goodness gracious. All right, Morning Extra at Extra
And
106.
on a high, yeah.
Yeah.
Woo, broken arm.
Yay.
Coming up, our Met Gala reactions.
That's exactly right. Crazy hair and crazy hats and a bunch of people that I don't really care for.
The women dress like men and the men dress like douchebags.
Yes, but no doubt about that. With regularity, too. Your money should not be spent against you. The discussion next on the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3.
Get the latest breaking news and insight from the biggest conservative voices in the South when you follow Extra 106.3 across all your social media platforms. Find us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube at Extra 106.3.
Hey, it's Tug. So glad to be back and talking to you about things in this world that matter and also things that can benefit you greatly, like making sure that your house is cool when it's hot outside and when it's cold outside, that it's warm. How do you do that? Well, you work with Chuck and his team at Central Heating and Air Conditioning, 770-GET-HEAT. CentralHeat.com. They've been serving Atlanta since 1947. So many, hundreds of thousands of homes that they've taken care of over the years, including mine, including Los's. When you get a maintenance agreement with Central Heating and Air Conditioning, they come out and make sure that the AC is ready to run, that the heating is ready to warm. And if there's any incident, anything they find, they can repair. Just like last week when they found the leak in the coils of our AC. Guess what is repaired and operating functioning like it's supposed to? That is our AC at our home. You can be in the same boat as me, making sure that it works as long as it can and lasts as long as it can. But not only that, $10 from every maintenance agreement will be given to Skyland Trail, which is a nonprofit leading the way in mental health and wellness right here in Atlanta, providing expert and evidence-based treatment to help people facing mental health challenges find a path to recovery. Helping yourself and helping others too, just by working with Central Heating and Air Conditioning. 770-GET-HEAT, centralheat.com.
So, the doc says I have ED. ED. But you know what? At the end of the day, it's just an abbreviation for a condition so many men have. If I was to be honest, I probably also have a little OCD. I know I have a great HMO. Heck, I even have 3 weeks of PTO. Look, don't let a few letters get you down. If you have ED, there's HELP. Go see Dr. Deal at Total Body Therapy of Georgia. He's an ED specialist that will turn your life around PDQ. ED happens to a lot of men as we age. And just FYI, Dr. Deal can give you back the confidence you need to perform on the JOB. So, ready to take the first step? Quit yelling WTF at your little BFF and visit tbtofga.com. Total Body Therapy of Georgia. They can fix your ED ASAP. And before you know it, you'll be screaming OMG.
I'm getting in the game. The world won't be the same. I'm good to go.
Call 404-777-1911 or visit tbtofga.com.
You protect your physical health by choosing your doctors carefully. Protect your financial health by choosing an attorney carefully. An accident can be very costly. You want to receive the compensation you deserve. Call Van Sant Law. My friend David Van Sant will take care of you, trust me, very well. The number is 855-GA-INJURY. The website is vansantlaw.com. In the event of an accident, it could be the most important phone call you make.
You should never need financing for a simple garage door repair, but it's happening here. Out-of-town companies have invaded Atlanta for a cash grab, charging outrageous prices. Hi, I'm Dan Watkins, owner of All Four Seasons Garage, Entry Doors, and Windows. Stay local and stay on budget for every opening of your home. All Four Seasons, trusted in Atlanta for over 25 years, exceptional customer service, and fair, honest pricing. When trust matters, trust us. All the number 4 Seasons Garages.com.
Is thinning hair or receding hairline making you self-conscious? Try Hair Grow from New Nordic. Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start feeling your best with Hair Grow.
The Dean's List with Janice Dean.
A hero dog that rescued a missing toddler in Arizona makes today's Dean's List. 2-year-old Baden Allen wandered away from his home, which led to a massive search with dozens of volunteers, troopers, and deputies searching everywhere overnight. Temperatures had dropped significantly and crews were worried about mountain lions. The boy was missing for 16 hours until a rancher named Scotty Dunton reported a young child on his property 7 miles away from Baden's home. It turns out that Scotty's dog Buford saw the boy and helped bring him up toward the gate. Scotty says he found the child sitting with his dog on the driveway, just hanging out until the family noticed. When Baden was asked who found him, he said the dog did after he slept under a tree. The sheriff's office expressed thanks to everyone who helped find Baden, including Buford, who stayed with him and brought him to safety. Good dog, Buford. You made the Doggy Dean's List. Janice Dean, Fox News.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines.
Here are your headlines for Tuesday, May 6th. A court hearing is scheduled today for Colt Gray, the alleged gunman in the Appalachia High School shooting last September. He is accused of shooting 11 people and killing 2 students and 2 teachers. He faces 55 charges, including malice and felony murder. A Honduran national who ICE says was in the country illegally since 2021 has pleaded not guilty in the murder of a 52-year-old grandmother in Cobb County. Coweta County schools are the latest victims of a ransomware attack. Officials say their system was hacked Friday night, forcing them to cancel SAT testing at 3 high schools over the weekend. A spokesperson with the school system said no student or employee information was part of the breach and no school financial information was hacked. And Governor Brian Kemp released a statement Monday night saying he will not run for Senate next year. Today's weather, partly cloudy with a high of 78. Tomorrow looks like scattered showers and cooler temperatures. With your headlines, I'm Jerry Payne.
I still remember a time when you had Rush Limbaugh, and the man is an absolute legend. He created, along with Howard Stern, the modern talk format. Like, these are the guys. You could say Rush Limbaugh, he saved AM radio. It's what he did. AM radio was going, it's on its way out, and Rush Limbaugh saved it. In the same way that when it comes to talk radio, Howard Stern did that for the field as well. Well, then you had the idea from the left. It's like, we've got to counter this stuff. We have to have our own version. And so they tried Air America. That was going to be like the left's answer to Rush Limbaugh. It failed horribly.
Yeah, big flop.
Big flop. Couldn't keep advertisers, couldn't keep listeners. It just did not work. So the left instead has just decided, well, let's just take NPR and PBS to a lesser extent, and we'll get our message out that way. And so when you see that NPR is largely 99 to 100% man-run voters, all leftists, now why do you think that their messaging always seems to come from the left? Now, here's the problem. Those are your tax dollars. Now, NPR can claim, we can exist on our own. Okay, do it. Donald Trump, by executive order, has decided to defund NPR and PBS. Now, this will be a court battle. This will be a big fight. But, Angela, in the area of ideas, if your ideas are good enough, you'll make money and you can profit. NPR is now hopefully going to have to prove that they can exist without taxpayer dollars.
Yeah, and I think based on their panic, they know they can't do that. And it's no wonder why I was looking up some of NPR's most biased headlines. They apologized for calling an illegal immigrant illegal. They said, it's NPR's policy is not to characterize people as illegal. They did a whole article on if you use the wrong skin color emoji, you might be a racist.
Yes, I remember that the thumbs up emoji, which, by the way, I only use the black thumbs up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's my favorite.
I noticed that in our text thread the other day. I was like,
See?
There's something there.
I'm not lying to the audience. I enjoy this stuff because it does make people go, why did he use the black thumbs up? He's not black, because it's more fun to make people go, did he just give me the black thumbs up? Like, yes, I did. Enjoy.
It's like having a hood pass.
That's right. And it doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal. But if it wasn't, why would you notice?
Right. Because it's unexpected.
It's like,
yeah.
Did he just give me the black thumbs up?
Well,
yes, of course. Again,
NPR would not be very happy with you.
NPR would be like, this guy, he is insensitive. In fact, he's culturally appropriating the thumbs up.
They're going to send you to the new prison in Alcatraz.
That's right. They're going to have to rewire me. They're going to have to send me to their education camp. But this is where, if you are so successful on your own, then what's the big deal? I should not be paying. Now, I don't have a problem with free speech. I love it. I sit back and I'm saying, like, yes, NPR, do what you're going to do. That is awesome. Say whatever you want. But you can't use my money to do it. If you can exist on your own, exist on your own. That's all. That's all I'm saying. It's like, you say whatever you want. By all means, I'm a free speech enthusiast. But be able to do it on your own without having to take money out of my pocket to do it.
Yeah, I mean, their court filings are going to be really interesting because some lawyer is in the unfortunate position of having to argue that they have a constitutional right to take our money and tell us what to think.
Good luck with that.
I don't think they're going to win on this one.
No. And that, again, there is something to be said for, we have emergency networks that are available so that if we do have an emergency, the government can quickly speak to us and tell us about said emergency. That's legitimate. I firmly believe, totally. But what happens is that PBS, NPR are largely all about giving you a narrative that comes strictly from one side. And if it was more balanced, well, then fine. Okay, that's what it is. But it's not. It hasn't been for a long time. There are so many people, and I've said this for the last several years too. If you're so good at what you do, come take my job. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're an NPR professional. You are so good at talking about all these issues, and you're so entertaining.
Oh, yes.
Come take my job. You want to do it in sports? Come take my job. Come sit across over here, and let's have a discussion of ideas. And if the audience likes you better and management and ownership does, take my job.
Yeah, I mean, the left has enforced this diversity narrative in everything, right? It's you have to look like the people you serve, and we have to have diverse everything. Okay, well, where's the diversity at NPR, where 100% of editorial positions are held by registered Democrats?
Isn't that strange?
Maybe they wouldn't have to panic about losing their federal funding if they actually were a public radio station.
Yes.
And they reflected the views of the public instead of the views of D.C.
When you go and listen to their programming, first off, the left is going to tell you, it's like, well, it's boring. Well, and okay, now we're talking about stuff that's boring and funded by me. If I'm funding it, damn it better be entertaining.
Right.
Right? Like I should be going like, wow, that's a really good point. It's amazing. I can't wait to check out NPR again. That's where my tax dollars are going. So not only are you putting out a boring product, you're taking my money to do it. NPR, you're going to have to get exciting pretty quick.
Yeah, I think NPR is realizing they don't have a lot of value as a news organization. Like, when is the last time they had a breaking story or an exclusive story or they got something first? Never, and it's because I don't think they try.
As I'm trying to now like search over and see, okay, what does NPR have of late that they have posted over to X? And I'm just kind of curious to see like, okay, what do we have here? Oh, they're asking you to subscribe. Oh, here's our political newsletter. And by the way, they haven't posted anything to X since 2023, and I guarantee I probably know why.
Elon.
They probably did the whole same thing of like, well, we're leaving X.
Yeah, we got to get over to Blue Sky for that one.
I bet I would. Okay. Are you taking me down a rabbit hole here?
Yeah. Well, you pull up Blue Sky. I mean, there's a TED Talk by the head of NPR that said, sometimes we're just so devoted to the truth that gets in the way of storytelling.
Okay. So this is all what you need to know. They have not posted to X since 2023. Mm-hmm. Blue Sky, they posted 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
So what do you think it's made for? Why do you think you got your money cut off? This is the insane asylum being run by the inmates, and now they want to act like they're not insane. You just don't give. You can be as crazy as you want. You just can't use my money.
Yeah,
that's all.
It's leftists talking to leftists, and I don't want to fund it.
And I don't want to fund it.
Well, and somebody had asked the NPR CEO about a year ago, why didn't you ever comment on the Hunter Biden laptop? And he said, well, we just don't think that we should spend time on stories that aren't relevant to the people that we serve.
What an insult to the American public that was.
I thought you were serving everyone, right? I mean, you're...
No, not them.
Oh, yeah, I guess not them. Just not them.
Yeah.
National Public Radio isn't for all the public.
No, it's for their favorite public.
It's for our favorite public. So, yes, I will enjoy seeing how this plays out again. It'll be a court battle, but I do love it as you put it there, Angela. You're going to have an attorney who's going to have to argue that an institution that only spouts one version of their own politics is in the complete interest of the public good. Kind of seems contrarian.
Absolutely. I think this may be the beginning of the end for NPR because they can't compete.
It's like, good luck. You're going to have to actually get out there and do it this way. All right. Ilhan Omar. Jerry.
Yeah.
I did love seeing this over the weekend. And I believe, was this with Al Jazeera?
I'm not sure what outlet.
I think it was there.
It's from years ago.
Yes.
It resurfaced.
And so it is now pointing out that this is a woman who obviously, when you look at her district that she got nominated and then eventually voted in out of. So that part of Minnesota is basically known as, okay, that's like a very Middle Eastern enclave.
Okay.
So when you're like, why does she represent the people the way she does? And why does she talk about Israel in the way she does? Well, because that particular area that votes her in, that's how they feel. Now, again, she's the representative for that. You can say that's very un-American. I would, but she's representing the people that sent her there. But also, I want you to take a listen to when she talked about who the big threat is in society.
A lot of conservatives in particular would say that the rise in Islamophobia is a result not of hate, but of fear, a legitimate fear, they say, of quote-unquote jihadist terrorism, whether it's Fort Hood or San Bernardino or the recent truck attack in New York. What do you say to them?
I would say our country should be more fearful of white men across our country because they are actually causing most of the deaths within this country. And so if fear was the driving force of policies to keep America safe, Americans safe inside of this country, we should be profiling, monitoring, and creating policies to fight the radicalization of white men.
So you can always get angry about this. She's representing the people that send her there. And you can say, well, it's decidedly un-American. Yes, because her area is decidedly un-American.
There are pockets in this country where that's what they believe.
That is the thought process. So your leaders represent this.
Yeah, I think the Republican Party should play that clip on repeat every day from now through probably forever so that people know exactly whose side she's on. And it's not the side of Americans.
No, it's never has been. Okay, the brother story notwithstanding, because that's always a funny one that, listen, some people do things to get people in the country, right? I mean, I haven't.
Me neither.
But, she kind of married a brother. So at that point, all bets are off, okay? Like, she's going to say what she's going to say. But this is the relevant thought process that goes on within areas of this country, that somehow you can always go after a demographic group as long as it's white.
Yeah.
Everything else is off limits. Now, me, as someone who's not white, I sit back and I go, well, that just seems kind of unfair. I think I get to call balls and strikes on this, but I don't think you should be able to go after any demographic group. But for some reason, it's open season. I remember after the Biden election, I walked into this office and I told our friend Buck Bellew, former Georgia quarterback, I go, Buck, man, it's going to be tough the next few years. Buck in his cool Southern drawl, he's like, well, why? And I go, well, you're a white male, you're heterosexual. I was like, and you're religious. It's like, they're coming after you.
Yeah, it's everything the left hates.
Yes.
And you listen to that interviewer with Ilhan Omar, brings up a long list of terrorist attacks carried out by radical Muslims. That is a fact.
Yes.
And she responds about Islamophobia. I think it's very normal to be afraid of people who want to kill you.
If your religion is talking about the need to get rid of the infidels, now you can always say it's 1%. Okay, 1%. It's still a large amount of people.
Yeah, and they're people who shouldn't be let into this country.
And do you have? And I guess I've always thought it was kind of contrarian when you'll hear Christian fanatics. Like, does that mean they just want to treat you really nice all the time?
Yeah, really making a lot of chili for that church potluck.
Yeah.
They're really into it.
It's like really into Catholic fanatics. So they repent really harder than everybody else?
Yeah.
Like maybe they go to confessional 4 times a week rather than just maybe once.
That's somebody
once
who's
a month.
sinning fast.
I was going to say.
That's a rapid rate.
That's a rapid rate. And so, again, the fanaticism end, I've always just looked at it and pointed out this area, this group of people, for a tiny percentage of them, when they go fanatical, it's to a different level.
Yeah,
it's not, and it's not in my in my belief mirrored by other religions.
Right.
And so that's that. She owns it. She should own it. I mean, that's part of it. I think when you see a lot of Muslims that are very honest about the religion, they will talk about the need to get rid of fanaticism because it only leads one way.
Yeah.
Death of people that are different than you.
Yes.
Death to them.
And there are Muslims who are part of this country who are wonderful people. That's the majority.
Oh, and they're the ones that are constantly speaking out about the fanaticism.
Yes, and it's that very, very small minority we have to be concerned about. But when you have people who aren't willing to talk about that small minority, that's a problem.
And we've seen this now in the state of Texas. Now, it hasn't shown itself here to this extent, but the push for these different communities where they want Sharia law. And while you might say, well, what's the big deal about Sharia law? Sharia law largely strips women of rights and privileges.
Yeah, it's a nightmare.
Yes.
It's inhumane.
It is. And yet you have these communities that are pushing for it. I thought it was fascinating to see this courthouse steps in Austin, the amount of people that are actually speaking out. And what it comes across is, wow, that person seems bigoted. No, they're just telling you the truth about what happens when you institute Sharia law in this country. We cannot possibly coexist with that form of law in any U.S. community. That is one of the lessons we have learned that we're seeing across the world, that when this religion, when it's a handful of people, it is a religion of peace until they hit critical mass and then they want to take over all of your services, your laws, and your communities.
Yeah.
And Ilhan Omar is sitting there pointing out, watch out for white men. Like, listen, I haven't had one tell me so far that we're going to take over your homes, your laws. Oh, and by the way, we're going to institute Sharia law.
Yeah, there are no white
your rights
men.
of your citizens.
There are no white men screaming, "Kill the infidel."
Yeah, it's not really happening. But hey, you know what? It's early. You never know.
The latest sports news, powered by 680 The Fan, and driven to extra listeners by RBM of Atlanta in Sandy Springs, Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Good morning. Here are your sport headlines for Tuesday, May 6th. The Atlanta Braves continue the homestand as they beat the Cincinnati Reds last night. 4-1 the final. A.J. Smith-Shawver, outstanding last night, throwing a career-best 8 innings, giving up just 1 hit. Tonight, Chris Sale gets on the mound for the Braves. He'll be opposed by Andrew Abbott. First pitch is set for 7:15. You can hear that game live on our sister station's brand new app, 680 The Fan. The nation's top quarterback and second overall prospect has committed to the University of Georgia as five-star Jared Curtis out of Nashville, Tennessee will be part of the 2026 recruiting class. He selected Georgia over Oregon as his finalist. With your sports headlines, I'm Carlos Medina.
Join A Second Chance Bail Bond CEO Daniel Madelon and host Tug Coward for the weekly radio show Back Your Blue. They will highlight special initiatives, criminal justice programs, and community events aimed at keeping our communities safer. Tune in Saturdays at 10 a.m. to learn some good news about and from the law enforcement and justice communities. Tune in on Saturdays or catch up on all past episodes wherever you get your podcasts or at thepodcastpark.com.
No one plans on going to jail, but when it happens, it's important that you know who to call. Call A Second Chance Bail Bonds, where we believe everyone deserves a second chance. Whether your loved one's been arrested in Cherokee, Clayton, or any of the other metro Atlanta counties in between, A Second Chance Bail Bonds works fast to help expedite release within hours. A Second Chance. It's better to know us and not need us than need us and not know us. Call A Second Chance 24/7 at 404-BAIL-OUT or online at atlbail.com.
Hey, it's Front Office Lowe's here to tell you about a new company that is changing the way people buy their next pre-owned car or truck. At The Honest Car Guy, they offer a completely transparent way to purchase a vehicle. You pay what he pays, plus a small, honest fee. You can choose any make or model. He will search the country for the best deal out there. He'll handle the paperwork, your trade-in, shipping, and even give you the bill of sale. Friends, I've done the research, and this is a buying process that you can trust. Call 844-SHOW-ME-1 or visit online at honestcarguy.com.
Want the truth about shopping for new floors? Big box stores might have flooring departments, but Empire Today has flooring experts. There's a huge difference. At a big box store, you might be getting help from someone who's in flooring today, but was stocking toilets yesterday. With Empire, you'll work with a dedicated flooring expert. We bring the store to your home, help find the right floors for your lifestyle, and answer questions. All while you view hundreds of samples with your own furniture, decor, and lighting. You'll get an all-inclusive price estimate and can schedule installation as soon as the next day for in-stock styles. That's Empire's Home Floor Advantage, working with experts who specialize in one thing, flooring. For a limited time, use code RADIO to get $500 off your contract of $3,500 or more when you call or visit EmpireToday.com. That's $500 off with code RADIO. You know the number.
800-588-2300
Today. Offer may not be applied to sales or combined with other coupons, discounts, or savings. Terms apply.
The legend Neil Bortz is only on Extra 106.3. Hey, it's Pete, and here's what you missed from the Talkmaster.
Joe Biden, when he was president, would send planes south of the border, load them up with illegals, and fly them into the United States, avoiding border checks. Trump just did the opposite. Once again, the worthlessness of Joe Biden and the Democrat Party on display, and the courage and determination of Donald Trump responding to the weakness of Joe Biden. They were child sexual predators, accused of kidnapping, assault, being pimps, robbery, aggravated assault of police officers. They're now in that terrorist holding facility in El Salvador. Love it. Just imagine the anguish of Democrats and progs and Joe Biden and his henchmen as they watch their master plot being destroyed.
Catch Neil's commentary every day on Extra 106.3 or listen anytime on the Extra 106.3 app.
Tug and Los until 10 on the Morning Extra. Download the app so you can listen live and on demand to the entirety of the show when it's done.
You're going to pay me to do it?
Well, I mean, if it's necessary.
If it's necessary?
Yeah, I mean, I'll
listen, I'm not above bribery for even our listeners.
That's right.
We'll do what we got to do.
We got some Clay Travis books somewhere.
Hey, it's Los for Al-Qaeda.
There's a Carson Beck signed jersey somewhere around here that's just dying to have somebody take it home.
Yeah, I'm telling you, some books and coffee cups.
Coffee cups. only the best for you.
Still need a shirt.
Yeah, I don't know if we have any of those.
Pull over.
Maybe somewhere.
Something. Give me a sticker.
I don't even think we have any stickers. We'll give you a free bird water.
I'll drink it.
Let me tell you, I will too. This whole pay to self-deport thing has the left going crazy, which is, I think, funny. Because to be honest, I don't know how many people are going to take them up on paying to deport themselves. it would save the American taxpayers thousands and thousands. It's about $17,000 from start to finish when someone's arrested and has to go through the deportation process. About 17 grand. So they're saying, hey, with the CBP Home app, used to be called One when Biden was using it to import people with no due process, no court dates, no anything. They just bring them here, leave them. That was called CBP One then. When Trump was elected, he changed it around, called it CBP Home. That is where folks can self-deport. And some people have. There's been, a handful of people that have self-deported.
Well, there is an encouraging aspect to it.
Yeah, sure.
You have a possibility of coming back here legally, whereas the point that has been made, if you choose not to, then the full force of the law will come down on you and will restrict you from being back in this country for up to 20 years, if not entirely.
Right. 100%. And we know that the border is secure for the first time in, 40 years.
I've got a round-trip flight to Guatemala City for $258 right now, leaving in about 7 hours.
Okay, so there you go.
Now, that is Spirit, so...
Well, look.
Well...
You can't ask for the best.
He did call it a beautiful flight.
He did. That's right.
It'd be a beautiful flight.
Hey, I've taken Spirit 4 times. Maybe 5.
I've been on it once.
And had no issue whatsoever.
My credit card got hacked.
Okay, well, see, there you go. Now, I've had...
Somebody bought a bike in Kansas City.
Oh,
Are you serious?
100%.
Wow, somebody bought a bicycle in Kansas City.
At a Walmart.
That's amazing.
Like, this looks fishy. Were you in the... No, I flew to Florida.
No, which is funny because my credit card in Lexington, South Carolina yesterday got declined on suspicion of... was a suspicious purchase. I bought my wife a cup of coffee at a little local coffee shop.
Well, that is suspicious.
I guess so. Well,
because they know you don't drink coffee.
I've never had a cup of coffee.
They
in my
listen
life.
to this show.
Yeah, we just don't drink it, and so it was declined. So it seems odd that yours wouldn't. Your company's got to step up their game and pick out when things.
Pick out what you like.
Listen up, Bank of America. Tighten up.
Act right.
So he buys a beer and they're like, we're not really sure.
That's right. I know this dude will buy a lot of beer. I'm not sure about this.
No, they always clear those.
Yeah, exactly.
Got a fraud alert.
There's no.
They bought an 18-pack.
Yeah.
Can't be Los.
That's right. Absolutely not. So, but like I said, I don't know how many people will go through with this, but I believe that Donald Trump is doing it for a reason. That way, when things get rough and rowdy, which they have a few times, people standing on the streets chanting, people out in Washington State taking over the University of Washington, the Antifa folks out there who are, communists, and of course they talk about illegals, whatever. And I think Donald Trump's like, dude, I've given every opportunity to do it your way. I've done everything. $1,000 goes into your account the minute you hit the ground and wherever it is that you're supposed to go. So don't tell me about being mean to people. I've given the chance. I've given the most humane way. Hey, I'm here. I want to try to come back one day. Here's an opportunity to do that. I've booked my plane, and I'll take that $1,000. Thank you.
I'm just sitting over here thinking about how I can get signed up on this so I can get a free vacation.
Here, fraud alert.
Listen, I know I'm a little pale, but I promise El Salvador is where I'm from.
That's right.
It's going to be hard to get back, but we'll figure it out.
That's right. But I do believe that Trump is like there's a little bit of this. Of course, they want it to work. I mean, but I think there's something bigger at play. Just the fact that they can say, we've tried it. I've tried everything. I've tried to do it the nice way. And along with having to get the most violent out, I'm trying to give those people who are not violent a really easy route home. And then the possibility, like Los brought up, the possibility of coming back one day legally.
Well, this is multifaceted. If you're going to use the strength of ICE and the ability to detain these people and to send them out to the tune of what the number's been is $27,000. If it's only going to cost you a few thousand and you will leave on your own, it's another possibility. It's just you're going. Do you want to do this the easy way or the hard way?
Well, that's right. Because here's the easy way, and otherwise, when we wrap you up, don't be mad because I gave you the easy way.
I gave you the easy way.
That's exactly right. And then when people like that, like the protesters and like the mainstream media, like the very straight down the line NPR and straight down the line PBS, because they'll give the president a fair shake. when they're talking about this.
You're funny.
Well, but that's what they told me. Lowe's, that's what both the president and CEO or whatever their titles are of NPR and PBS, they've told me. Look, we call this straight down the line.
Listen, we're totally fair about this thing. Come on.
Don't you know? I mean, goodness, how can? But when they don't give Trump a fair shake, Trump's got the out. I've given every opportunity. And if you've taken it, good. If you haven't, it's on you because the hammer is coming down. And we're not going to stop. Tom Homan. You think Tom Homan's going to stop?
No.
He is not. That is one man that as much as Trump says things, and I usually believe what he says that he's going to do, and he's proven to be right as we've elected him, everything he campaigned on, that's what he's trying to do. I think Tom Homan has the upper hand. Tom Homan, when he says it, by God, I believe it.
I feel like he flat out just lays the cards on the table because he knows no matter what, his hand's better than yours in every scenario. Yeah. And that includes when he goes in front of Congress.
Sure.
Because he's just playing in a very, the pool is not a problem for him. It's never too deep because it's always based on the law.
That's right.
So as he's put it, if you take issue with it, change the law. Otherwise, I'm just following the law.
And who has a problem with the law? I mean,
as he told AOC, it's like they separate these kids from their families. He's like, well, if you commit a crime in this country, they will come over to your home and remove you from the home.
And your children will have to be put with a family member or, God forbid, social services, which are, not great. But that's exactly right. And he's got the law on his hands and on his side every time and does not run from it. And he was quick to point out that I did this for Barack Obama, too. Don't forget. And to the tune of several million people leaving the United States. Now, they talked big back then and were lying to you the whole time. And now they don't even try to pretend. They're like, yes, we want to flood the country. Yes, we want to. Because this plan of flooding the country is working to a T. Up until Trump was elected, it was working to a T. And they were going to continue doing it. And as soon as they're elected again, they will open up the floodgates again. Make no mistake about it. Just don't be misled. Know what is coming. Don't be surprised. Just like when Trump says we're going to take people out, he campaigned on it. Just like Tom Homan says, I'm taking people out. I've got the law on my side. Do not be surprised when the Democrats get back into power and their plan goes right back in motion. Because it will. Just be aware, because that's what's coming. This is the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3. 6 o'clock hour is brought to you by Subaru of Gwinnett. We appreciate you being here. 404-741-1230 is the number if you'd like to get into any of the discussions that we have during the show. We're always open and available. You can also find us at Extra 106.3 across the social media platforms, at Tug Coward, at Front Office Los, and at Whiskey Click for Jure, if you'd like to get him there.
If you're dirty.
If you're dirty and filthy, that's right.
Don't catch me too late.
It's Jerry if it's like Sunday, you're at church.
Yeah.
It's Jure if you're in them streets.
That's right. If you're down there at the corner of some
you happen to meet him after 10 o'clock.
That's right.
You see me in the Marietta Square.
That's right.
It's dark on a weekend evening.
Yeah, take it easy. Don't come at him quickly because you never can tell.
No, I'll be friendly.
Yeah, well,
might be a little.
Listen,
might be a little loose.
If you're there with your girl, just know she's looking at him.
That's right. And that hairdo and that
careful,
perfectly manicured beard things. I mean, why wouldn't she fall in love with him immediately and leave you behind?
You said his name is Jure?
Yeah.
Boy, sure
he
you
must
know
be
how to make
bored.
her feel special.
Hey, Jure. When we come back, judicial activism, the front lines are at the state levels after a Fox News update.
The legend Neil Bortz is only on Extra 106.3. Hey, it's Pete, and here's what you missed from the Talkmaster.
America had and has cancer. The cancer of big government. Donald Trump, Elon Musk, they are the chemotherapy that is going to kill this cancer.
Catch Neil's commentary every day on Extra 106.3 or listen anytime on the Extra 106.3 app.
Sequoia National Golf Club is located 45 minutes west of Asheville, North Carolina, and nestled among the oak, fir, and flowered valleys in the heart of the Great Smoky Mountains. Owned by the Eastern Band of the Cherokee, this Robert Trent Jones II design offers an idyllic 18-hole journey filled with panoramic vistas on every hole, beautiful landscapes, and a fun mountain golf experience. Enjoy a relaxed lunch or afternoon beverage on the outdoor deck with 180-degree views of the Great Smoky Mountains. The surrounding community also provides golfers a welcoming environment that is rich with Native American culture and exciting year-round attractions. Sequoia National Golf Club is just 4 miles from Harrah's Cherokee Casino Resort and just a short drive from Atlanta. Experience a fun afternoon of golf with your friends or stick around for an epic stay-and-play weekend. Experience mountain golf at its finest and then go hit the casino floor. Book your tee time at sequoianational.com. That's sequoianational.com. Experience the majesty and beauty of Sequoia National, mountain golf at its finest.
Americold Logistics LLC, Atlanta, Georgia, and any unanticipated locations throughout the U.S. seeks a wave planner, job code JS0425. Responsible for allocating orders, releasing work to warehouse floor, balancing workflow, and ensure in/outbound trucks turnaround times are within acceptable levels. Requires high school diploma, GED, or foreign degree equivalent, and 1 year of experience in the job or performing similar duties. $51,168 to $64,355 per year. Email resume to Barbara Bishop at barbara.bishop@americold.com.
Widespread power outages across Europe remind us how quickly life can change and chaos can ensue. Are you prepared if suddenly you don't have power for multiple days? What if supply chains are strained and panic buying leads to shortages? Don't wait until disaster strikes. Prepare today for a worry-free tomorrow at True Prep. Visit True Prep in Marietta on Cobb Parkway or shop online at trueprep.com. That's TRUprep.com. True Prep. Be ready when it matters most.
I'm Chad Pergram with the Speaker's Lobby. It was President Franklin Delano Roosevelt who established the modern paradigm of judging a president and, to some extent, a Congress on what was accomplished in the first 100 days. Congress has not accomplished a great deal with legislation, but the Senate certainly churned through confirmations. It's been a hectic 4 months for the Republican-controlled Senate. During the president's first 100 days, the Senate confirmed all of President Trump's top nominees, and that includes the controversial ones, like Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Senate Majority Leader John Thune says the Senate met for 13 of the first 14 weeks of the year. That includes convening for 10 consecutive weeks at one point, including overnights and weekends. It was the longest stretch of Senate work in 15 years. A handful of Democrats voted to confirm many of President Trump's nominees. Since nominations consume most of the Senate's floor traffic, President Trump only signed 5 bills into law. That's low. One avoided a government shutdown. The other was the Laken-Riley Act. With the Speaker's Lobby, Chad Pergram, Fox News.
WFOM and W292EV Marietta, a Dickey broadcasting station. This hour is presented by Van Sant Law, vansantlaw.com.
Security will head to the Capitol. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, defending President Trump's new plan to pay illegal immigrants to leave.
So we're going to have a self-deportation where they deport themselves out of our country.
Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem is expected to face scrutiny from Democrats today when she appears before a House Appropriations Subcommittee. Expect Noem to defend the president's immigration policies. They have a new initiative paying for the commercial flights of migrants who are in the country illegally if they choose to self-deport. The administration will also pay them a $1,000 stipend once they're confirmed to have left the United States.
Fox's Madeline Rivera. While Noem testifies, President Trump will host Canada's new Prime Minister, Mark Carney, at the White House for trade talks.
So the relationship between the two nations has been strained due to tariffs and, of course, Trump's proposal to make Canada the 51st state.
Something the Prime Minister says will never happen.
After his recent election victory, Carney said he was prepared to have difficult but constructive conversations in Washington.
That's Fox's Brooke Sigmund. More than 100 flights to and from Newark, New Jersey, delayed or canceled yet again this morning, continuing a trend at that airport with air traffic control shortages when some took leave after a stressful technical issue last week affected Newark.
The primary communication line went down. The backup line didn't fire. And so for 30 seconds, we lost contact.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy also tells Fox.
We have really old infrastructure in America. It hasn't been updated in the last 30, 40 years. This should have been dealt with in the last administration.
Now, Duffy says they have new incentives to hire more air traffic controllers. 4 airports in Moscow were shut down for a while after Ukraine fired drones deep into Russia, which says it intercepted more than 100 drones. Russia also attacked Ukraine with drones ahead of a 72-hour Russian ceasefire starting Thursday to commemorate the end of World War II in Europe 80 years ago. America's listening to Fox News.
Allie Dwyer and her 3 sons lost their hero, Stephen. Serving our country in the United States Army was Stephen's calling, and flying helicopters was his passion. Stephen was killed in a Black Hawk helicopter crash over the Mediterranean Sea. Thanks to friends like you, Tunnel to Towers provided his family with a mortgage-free home, giving them security and hope in their darkest hours. Help more families like the Dwyers. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
Quiet down. Here she comes. Surprise! Your accountant just emailed to say your quarterly taxes are way higher than you were expecting.
At Progressive, we know small business owners don't usually like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting discounts with a commercial auto quote from Progressive.
Also, your favorite employee is leaving. They're going to pursue their dream of being a veterinarian.
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
You may know Bortz is back, but not everyone else does. Tell anyone who loves America, Bortz is back on the radio in Atlanta, and his new home is Xtra 106.3. Listen to him now on the Xtra 106.3 app.
Tug and Los until 10. I just realized that the Village People have the hardest jobs in America. The Village People, who would have thought? Why? Well,
it's a very strong statement to start there.
I know.
Construction, police.
Well, firefighter, the most difficult job in the country, in America, followed by a construction worker, military member. Remember, the Village People had a sailor. And then,
of course,
doctor at number 4. That I know of, the Village People did not have one of them, but a cop, they did have that. So 4 of the top 5 belong to the Village People, the hardest jobs in America.
Well, they were only wearing a costume.
Right, yes.
Their symbolization. Representing the most difficult jobs in America.
That's exactly right.
So I'm fairly certain the firefighter is not fighting any fires.
No, he's probably.
In fact, I kind of get the impression that maybe they all existed as a way of celebrating a form of masculinity that are enjoyed by other men.
Yes, well, but if you recall, remember the guy that from the Village People said that YMCA is not a gay anthem.
No, it's not.
And the
or
Village
is
People,
it?
Right.
I feel like I should know another song by the Village People, but I can't come up with anything.
See, there was. Hold up, I'm not sure I can go.
Okay, I don't feel so bad.
Yeah, hang on, let me see what I can come up with. Oh, Macho Man. Don't forget that.
Yeah, that's the one.
Which is also not in any way a song celebrating homosexuality or pointing it out, or even looking at somebody and saying, that is someone I'm trying to live up to.
Nope. Mustaches were in style. Disco was cool.
Yeah, absolutely. All that's true. But I'll tell you that what we do for a living does not fall into the toughest category.
No, not at all.
On the list that I saw from the magazine.
Makes people nervous at times, but
it makes them uneasy.
Right. I get that.
The truth will make you uneasy. Some people do not like hearing the truth because it's hard to hear sometimes.
Some people don't like talking about it because that's how I ended up down here.
Well, that's what happened.
That's where they said, you need to go down the hall, sir.
Down the hall.
They just literally pointed at Los.
I was like, you don't understand. It's not going to prevent infection. You need to go down the hall, sir.
Down the hall. And they have it's almost a little bit of a tribute to you down the hall at 680 The Fan when they say, that's for down the hall.
Yeah, down the hall.
Like when politics come up.
Right.
Even
a little hint of it.
That's right. A politically adjacent conversation.
Well, they're going to have to talk about the draft being up in Washington today.
That's true. Well, the problem is that the person who runs technical operations in the afternoon, Cullen Madden, is so far left that he's so worried that when anything comes up politically, that's why he's immediately firing off the down the hall.
Oh, really?
Which is why I constantly try and send him stuff to offend him.
Do they have a drop for that?
Oh, yeah.
It's just
all you hear is down the hall. Like if you were to say this, hey, the draft is going to be in Washington, D.C. It was just announced. You suddenly immediately down the hall.
Don't even bring it up.
Well, Cullen and his ilk are losing so badly. Their only response is don't talk about politics.
Right.
I wonder if I could. I just got an idea.
Uh-oh.
It would get me in trouble.
Okay, well, sit on it. Don't say it out loud. Let's figure out how to implement
Like if I
it
was
later.
to question the very nature of the Village People, immediately
It'd be
you
down
would
the
have
hall.
down the hall.
Yeah.
It's like, hold on a second. We're just having fun here, right?
Right. Yeah.
Are we having a good time? Village People are fun.
It's fun. Who didn't? As a matter of fact, it's not the Village People, but
and they also have In the Navy.
Oh, I'd forgotten about In the Navy.
This is how cool Donald Trump is. When I hear YMCA now, the first thing I think of is not a gay anthem. It's him doing that dance.
That's right. Right. To YMCA.
That's
as it's noted that
taking it back.
They have a reputation
Back to politics.
as being in the gayborhood. And the characters were a symbolic group of American masculinity and macho gay fantasy personas.
Well, how about that?
Well, and that's cool.
Welcome to the gayborhood.
I'd never heard that word before. The gayborhood. I'd never.
See, but I'm comfortable with this. I've always.
Me too.
And this is why I've never had a problem with YMCA. I thought it was pretty clear to everybody.
But
I thought it was all pretty clear for the Village People.
But do you remember though when the guy was, I guess whoever put them together, their lead singer, I don't know who that would be, but whoever leads the band said that
Do you mean Victor Willis?
I'm supposing Victor Willis could be him. He said, that all that is made up. It's been commandeered. That's not at all what we meant. Remember, because that's when he performed, because they performed at the...
That's not at all what they meant, huh? They got a picture of them from the 70s.
I'm not saying that. I'm just, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just telling you whomever, the leader, what was his name again? Victor Willis?
Yes.
What?
He was your founding member.
Okay,
He
yes.
was a primary songwriter.
Yeah. He's the one that shot it all down when they were performing for Trump.
The YMCA is a nice gym. It's fun to go to the YMCA. I don't know that I would stay there.
Can you
even get yourself clean?
Yeah, right. In the shower.
You can have a good meal.
Can you still stay at a YMCA?
I'm sure. There's got to be some YMCA that might have some overnight facilities.
Maybe.
I don't know about that.
Because we were members of the YMCA in Alpharetta for, I don't know.
Yeah, the one in West Cobb is great.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing any places to house, though.
They have overnight camps, is what I
Okay. Oh.
No, I mean, these are youth camps.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, but that's different than the song.
So why are y'all getting all worked up? Why don't y'all go down the hall?
I didn't get worked up.
Be a bunch of, I don't want to talk about that. Whoa.
I'm fine with talking about anything. No, I that's very different, though, than the song alludes to. The song doesn't say stay at the camp. It says stay at the YMCA.
All right, so this is from our friend Stephanie.
Stephanie, good morning.
She writes, in the Navy, YMCA Macho Man.
In the Navy.
These are all such butch titles. I'm shocked, I tell you. Shocked that there's anything gay associated with the Village People.
How did we forget in the Navy?
I didn't.
We brought it up.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, I mean, that was meant for Tug's heart.
Yes, absolutely.
Right
in the Navy.
Now, I would call it a uniform, but every now and then when I've accidentally said costume, that's when Tug gets very upset with me.
You can't call it a costume. It's not a costume.
Well, it is when it's the Village People.
Well, yes, it's very much a costume.
But I'm glad they're celebrating the most difficult jobs in America.
Little did I know that this would turn into such a great conversation. I was just noticing at this list, I was like,
And as your brain tends to wander, you're like, yeah,
oh my
the
gosh.
YMCA guys, they had it down.
Every one of these jobs were held by someone in the Village People. So anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out
And then
there.
you can apply the dude in the headdress. It's like, what job was he doing?
Oh, yeah.
Unsure, but turn it up since we got the hook here.
It's fun to stay at the YMCA.
Here's the dance, right? The Trump dance, he just does the robot arms. That's all he does.
A little stiff when he did that.
A little bit. People liked it. So, I'm not sure.
With all the boys.
Yes, all the boys. I'm not sure where on the list of difficult jobs AGs would fall, like a attorney general. But it seems like some of their jobs could be challenging at times. But they could be the place, really, that leads the charge on, handling all kinds of things, including illegal immigration.
Yeah, state attorney generals, this should be our first line of defense with what is going on in this country, and not just on immigration. If you didn't see this story, you have the Florida AG, the Attorney General, James Uthmeyer, and he is in a bit of a twist with one of the federal judges in that state. Now, basically what is going on is this. You have a federal judge who's remind Uthmeier, hey, you have to be careful with how you're enforcing these laws against these immigrants. Uthmeier's basically telling the judge, you're overstepping, and we're going to follow the federal laws, and we're going to detain these people. Now, remember, we call them illegals. The other side, you'll always know, we'll call them immigrants.
Or newcomers.
Newcomers is how they do it. But you have this judge who is now threatening the Attorney General of Florida to hold him in contempt. These are the this is a frontline battle.
Sure,
this is where you're going to have. Now, remember this too. With the Biden administration, what they did is they gave blanket pardons for a decade to a lot of these people from federal law, not from state law.
Mm-mm.
So when we talk about who is going to be the ones that are going to have to be at the front of this, as much as Donald Trump and the administration, they're going to be the lead dog here. They're going to be the ones who are going to take all the slings and arrows. But this needs to be executed locally across the board in every single one of these states. Now, keep in mind, too, you're going to have states that will not comply with this stuff. California is not going to play along with this stuff. There are going to be sanctuary cities and areas that are blue pockets that will not play along with this stuff. That'll be on ICE and the rest of the federal government to get involved there. But if your state's doing it right, your state is right at the forefront of battling this stuff and getting these people who are not supposed to be in this country out of this country.
Florida is going to be the trendsetter for most everything. Would you agree that Florida is the most blood red state?
At this point, absolutely.
I can't think of anybody that...
Once Miami-Dade County went red, that's when, that night of the election, when Miami-Dade went red, and this was before Elon Musk stole the election.
Right.
I was saying it's over. I mean, this is like 7-something that night.
Yeah,
and I'm saying like, hey, guys, this is done.
Yeah,
this is what's going to continue. This is done.
We did it on our live broadcast because we had the camera on with us. We have Janelle and Kelvin King on with us. It was a great night.
Yeah, everyone's like, I'm nervous. I'm like, I'm not anymore.
Yeah. So Florida has overtaken Texas. I know Texas has Austin, but is it...
I got to tell you, man, name me a place in Florida that's blue.
Name me a place in Florida, because, again...
Orlando?
When Miami-Dade is out, that's telling. Because what's always happened for years, you will have, whenever we have regular presidential votes, you will have the entire state of Florida where the Democrats will lead for the first several hours. And as they get through Miami-Dade County, they have to have a significant lead, because as you get into the Panhandle, it might as well be South Alabama. It's going to be blood red conservative. And that is what ends up, basically determining how Florida goes. Florida is not like that anymore. Once Miami-Dade went red, the whole state is blood red.
Yeah, it looks like that there's a couple blue counties, 3 blue counties, somewhere near Orlando, Jeray, to your point.
Yeah.
And then on the east side of Florida, so I'm assuming that's probably Boca Raton, Fort Lauderdale, maybe.
Like West Palm.
West Palm, yep. Thinking that must be where that is. But overall, Florida, to me, if you ask me, I think Florida's the most blood red state. So everything that they do, I think, will be a blueprint, no pun intended, or no...
a red print.
Yeah, red print. That'd be better. Thank you. A red print or a blueprint for how everything else should work, because you're going to be able to accomplish whatever it is that you want to get done in Florida. You've got the infrastructure there to make decisions and say, hey, this is how we're going to carry this out. Then you'll have the backing of the federal government, too. It just seems like anything you want to try it in Florida, and then if it works, you try it everywhere else. And it should lay out the way you want it to. But I love the fact that you point out the states, because at the end of the day, everything comes down to the states.
Everything from operational standpoint moving forward. If the states are on board, you got a good chance of getting done. Yeah, that's the nature of what happens. By the way, this is just the numbers here. So in 2016, you did have Hillary Clinton, who won Miami-Dade County, just like the Democrat always tends to win it. Now we move over to 2024, and Donald Trump didn't just beat Kamala Harris in Dade County. He beat her 55-43. He had almost 160,000 more votes in that county than she did. So when we talk about blood red, when Miami-Dade County, the area where you're supposed to win by 250,000 as a Democrat,
and you lose by that much,
you get beat that badly, that's how much it switched.
That's when she started pouring the vodka that night.
Yes, she was like, oh, we lost my... And then we started to see some of the other areas of the state of Virginia. That's when I knew this is a big night. Like, we're going to be done with this thing. What was it, maybe like by 10:30?
Yes.
11 o'clock?
Yeah.
We're like, this is over.
And I think it was because I was watching MSNBC after we wrapped up our coverage here. and it was Erie. That's what they were hanging on to. Erie County in Pennsylvania, they're hanging on. And they kept telling, I'm sure they wanted people to watch as long as they could, try to convince people of it, but or maybe they were just being psychiatrists and they're like, well, maybe there's a chance. We got to
find 30,000 more votes here.
We got both our index and middle fingers crossed. We got our pinkies crossed. We got our thumbs crossed. We got everything we can crossed. And they kept going back to Erie, Pennsylvania, and Erie County, and they kept saying, if we get that, if we could just get that, maybe. And then Erie went red, and man, you just saw the faces on the hosts on MSNBC fall down looking like a sad clown.
We didn't even have to get to the last 4 swing states.
No, that's right.
It's like, it didn't matter what Nevada was doing at that point. We're like, no, it's all right. It's all good.
And it really didn't matter what Georgia did.
No.
At that point. Now, when Georgia went red too, God.
It's like Georgia, Virginia. It's like, okay. And then as you get over into Pennsylvania, you're like, yeah, this is about over.
Yes.
Good luck. But
they threw dealing.
But going back, yeah, the attorney generals, here's where you got to have it. And again, because you are talking about 7 swing states and many of these states that are red, your voting base, this is what they voted for. Deliver it for them. It's important that your attorney generals are enforcing the laws, the federal laws and the state laws.
Absolutely right.
Even when the judges get in your way.
Because that opens the door for the federal government to do whatever they need to do on their end to back up the decisions of the states, to battle for the decisions of the states, and defend the states and their rights to make decisions on behalf of their constituents. That's the thing. That's why it's so valuable, because it just creates the path forward. I want you to hear from Chuck Todd really, really quick. This will probably make you smile, just because he sounds like such a buffoon. He's one of those guys that, when he talks about the White House, and he says that the Biden White House he's basically saying that the Biden White House, they accuse of Trump of sending a chill down the spine of reporters. And I was just like, well, wait a minute. I thought everything was good there. I thought he was so welcoming, and it's Trump that is the one that's going to lock up reporters. But it turns out not to be the case.
I could argue that the White House press corps didn't make this an issue, and they could have. Where's the president today? How come he's not doing a public event today? How come he hasn't done a press conference today? There wasn't that. So I accept that didn't exist in that press room. And I think this is where the Biden White House created a chill among reporters, meaning if you dare do that, good luck getting your interview that you were hoping to get with Biden or Harris, et cetera. So they made it clear there was a price to pay, I think, to some reporters. So yeah, I do think some pulled their punches in that press room because they were daily interacting with the Biden press shop.
So he's all of a sudden really, really brave because he, like everybody else, says, no, it's Trump. It's Trump that scared, they're going to lock reporters up. And now Chuck Todd is saying that it was actually Biden that scared reporters to death.
So they were going to get an interview from somebody who didn't do interviews, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was what they were afraid of. They were afraid of getting access cut off from someone who didn't give them access.
That's right.
This is such faulty logic.
But
you didn't do your job because you were afraid of not getting able to do your job.
That's right.
Who let you in the basement, Jack?
No, yeah,
you weren't getting access to him anyway. I mean, by the time he fell down the first handful of times in the first several months, when we even had Buck and Clay calling it the weekend at Bernie's presidency early on, and no one thought, maybe if I just ask these certain questions, I might get my access cut off.
What access?
What access?
That's right.
He wasn't even functional until it was 10 o'clock till 4 o'clock.
And what has Trump been? Available.
Accessible. He did a 90-minute interview with NBC over the weekend. All right. They now have all of it out there. Tell me when you saw Joe Biden entertain anything longer than 10 minutes.
If that.
Pre-selected questions.
Absolutely right, man. The most transparent White House that we've had maybe ever.
The President of the United States at one point had a piece of paper that told him where to go, who to call on, and where to stand, and when to leave.
And he would read that, the parts that he wasn't supposed to.
And special shoes.
And the special shoes, too. But, remember, he would be like, I can't ask questions. I can't answer. I can't let you ask questions.
I'm not allowed to ask that. I'll get in trouble.
That's right. That's right. He would say
like a child.
I would get in trouble. And then he would say, turn right, and look at camera. He would read it out.
He would walk into walls and just stare and look at them.
Poor man.
And no one asked what
Chuck Todd. All of a sudden,
Chuck Todd something. I'll tell you the truth now.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like the Saturday Night Live skit that was 2 years too late about COVID, the COVID vacations. It would have been funny 2 years prior in 2021, but by the time 2023 rolls around, not as much. Neil Bortz, the talkmaster, the one and only. Legendary voice in Atlanta radio, only spends time on Extra 106.3, and he'll spend time with us next.
The Extra 106.3 app is your live connection to the station, streaming free across Georgia. But it's also loaded with all our original shows and podcasts. Listen to exclusive shows from Janelle King, Ben Burnett, and so many more. Grab the Extra 106.3 app now and start streaming.
Thing I'd like to upgrade would be the sound system in my truck. As I was driving over to move my son out, which didn't happen because the conference tournament went long, got to go back next week, I was just noticing, man, I can't turn the radio up loud enough. I mean, you upgrade your phone, you upgrade your sound system, or maybe even your car. So why not upgrade the one thing that protects your family? Southern Exteriors is making it easy this spring to do an upgrade, 10% off any job. 12 months with 0% financing. You choose which one you like, roofing, siding, gutters, and anything else that they do. They've been trusted across the Southeast since 1999 because they don't fool around. They don't give you false promises. They don't go knocking on doors in the neighborhood saying, hey, we had some bad weather. You should probably let us get up there and inspect your roof. We'll get the insurance to pay for it. All that nonsense. They just do solid work. Solid craftsmanship, dependable people, and results that last. It's Tug. I know the crew at Southern Exteriors. They show up, they do it right, and they stand behind their work. If you need new roofing, new siding, gutters, windows, doors, they can do it for you. Just call them 877-9-SOUTHERN or southernexteriors.co, 877-9-SOUTHERN, southernexteriors.co.
A company that has been trusted in Atlanta for over 25 years has already done their hometown homework, like having the very best people, fair, honest pricing, exceptional customer service, and a focus on high-quality work. That's us. Hi, I'm Dan Watkins, owner of All Four Seasons Garage, Entry Doors, and Windows. Sometimes new isn't better, like out-of-town home improvement companies invading Atlanta with their inflated pricing and subpar work. When trust matters, trust us. All the number 4 Seasons Garage.
Military veterans are eager to transfer their skills and experiences to civilian life, but lack trusted connections to expedite their path to success. That is, until they meet the Warrior Alliance. The Warrior Alliance goes the extra mile to reach veterans in their communities so they do not have to take this journey alone. With over 40 partners across 10 service areas, your donation goes a long way toward achieving maximum impact for a veteran and their family. Go to thewarrioralliance.org to donate today and commit to helping the Warrior Alliance change thousands of lives for the better.
Hey, Atlanta's Mark from the Safe House. I have a question for you. Am I the only person pissed off with the mainstream fake news, liberal judges,
and whiny liberal politicians
who don't realize why Donald Trump is president, and fake safes? And you may wonder, why fake safes? Well, a fake safe is like Joe Biden, cheap and ineffective. A real safe from the Atlanta Safe House is like Donald Trump, tough, effective, and provides peace of mind when you need it the most. So drop by Atlanta Safe House and check out the largest selection of safes in the Southeast and see what a real safe looks like. So go to atlantasafehouse.com.
Hey, this is Matt from East Cobb. We basically bought our house from our in-laws. It was my wife's childhood home. One of the issues that we've had when we first moved in was our dog in our backyard. It was extremely shaded, could never grow grass back there. We resodded it twice. So ATL Turf Co. did an amazing job with our backyard transformation. They basically created a miniature golf hole. We have a miniature fairway. We also have a miniature little putting green. Consists of about 4 holes, total about 40 yards, so you can definitely work on your short game and your putting. After that transformation that ATL Turf Co. did for us, my father-in-law came and saw his house the way it looked after the fact of we had a putting green and a miniature golf course. Sure enough, he did the same thing with ATL Turf Co. He has a beautiful backyard, wonderful stonework, drainage, and a beautiful practice area for chipping and putting. Check them out online at atlturfco.com.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines.
Here are your headlines for Tuesday, May 6th. A court hearing is scheduled today for Colt Gray, the alleged gunman in the Appalachia High School shooting last September. He is accused of shooting 11 people and killing 2 students and 2 teachers. He faces 55 charges, including malice and felony murder. A Honduran national who ICE says was in the country illegally since 2021 has pleaded not guilty in the murder of a 52-year-old grandmother in Cobb County. Coweta County schools are the latest victims of a ransomware attack. Officials say their system was hacked Friday night, forcing them to cancel SAT testing at 3 high schools over the weekend. A spokesperson with the school system said no student or employee information was part of the breach and no school financial information was hacked. And Governor Brian Kemp released a statement Monday night saying he will not run for Senate next year. Today's weather, partly cloudy with a high of 78. Tomorrow looks like scattered showers and cooler temperatures. With your headlines, I'm Jerry Payne.
Boy, howdy, that only means one thing when you hear Huey Lewis. You know Neil Bortz is on the line. Neil, what is up?
Huey.
Well, Huey Lewis, you know, your theme music.
You said Hugh.
I did? Well, if I did, I completely botched that.
Well, I mean,
reset.
they're on a first-name basis.
Yeah.
He calls him Hugh Lewis.
That's right. We've been butts
every time you come out of a news break with that music, I get a flashback, you know. Where's my notes? Okay, I got to get started here.
That's great. I love that.
So, yeah. I love the headline in the New York Post the other day. Donna and I have watched pretty much all the things on TV we can find about that Diddy guy, but I love the headline that says, "Did he do it?"
Oh, right, right. Yeah, it's a good one. That's kind of their thing, though. That's always been their thing. Those clever headlines that make everybody chuckle or roll their eyes or smirk.
Yeah, I like that. It's also Trump's favorite newspaper, so he and I are reading the same stuff.
Okay.
If I want to know about black culture, I'll pick up the Atlanta Journal-Constitution.
Definitely get some there.
And by the way, if you are involved in that trial and you are a celebrity, is not the worst thing is to have your name come up because it's Mike Myers from Saturday Night Live and all of his fame, and then Michael B. Jordan, who also gets brought up. I'd be like, please do not bring me up during a Diddy trial ever.
Absolutely, or Karen Reed. You know, the new hero now when it comes to trials, upcoming trials. The new hero is going to be. I'm supposed to remember his Rodney Hinton.
Rodney Hinton.
Yeah, Rodney Hinton.
I guess I need to look him up.
Yeah, the GoFundMe is going to be cranked up for this guy, and he's going to become. Yeah.
Got it.
Now, I sympathize a little bit with Rodney Hinton's anguish and intent, but his son, Ryan Hinton, New York, okay, I think it was New York, doesn't matter. His son was involved in car theft, carjacking, running from the police and everything. You have to use the word allegedly had a gun when he bailed out of a car and ran from police, and allegedly came around a dumpster with that gun in his hand, and the police shot him and killed him. That's Ryan Hinton. The next day, Rodney Hinton's father saw a police officer directing traffic and ran him down with his car and killed him. And when he was marched into the police station, he just, gave the old raised head salute to these police officers, saying, "Yeah, I got you back." Now, I'm just waiting to see how much, like Luigi, how much money he's going to get on GoFundMe.
Probably a lot. Yeah. I mean, there's crazy people out there that will donate to anything that is. That falls into this.
But it goes so tribal so quickly.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, yeah. And then you were talking about glam bands.
Oh, of course, anytime.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's on your mind?
Okay, see how good you are. Who's Mick Tucker?
Mick Tucker. I'll have to look up Mick. Who's Mick Tucker?
Mick Tucker. You have no reason to know his name. The band was Sweet.
Oh, so
I'm seeing Mick Tucker, and look at that hair.
Buddy, it's extraordinary.
That was the nature of the beast back then.
Didn't they only have like one hit, Sweet?
Well, yeah, they had Ballroom Blitz.
Yep.
And I think that there was at least one other, and I can't remember the name.
Songs.
But I liked Ballroom Blitz.
Yeah, that was a great song. It was covered in the Wayne's World movie.
Yeah, and Mick Tucker was the drummer who laid down that great background for that song.
Okay. So we find our way back to Mike Myers. See how it all works out.
Is that right? That's the way it comes out.
So,
I
did glam talk radio.
Okay, all right, well, good. So you're talking about all the glam bands.
You know, you guys make talk radio look easy.
Well, I don't know about that.
Depends on who you ask.
And I went full-time talk radio, wrote the State Bar of Georgia, said put me on the inactive list so I don't have to pay these dues anymore.
Seriously, I've got glam bands to talk about, don't you know?
Put me on the inactive list, and I went full-time with what is now Apollo Radio, but and never worked another day in my life. But you know, other people don't look at that the way we do. I had an internationally famous, will not mention his name, comedian come and fill in with me. Wow, all he had to do was 3 hours. Fill in for me, just one day, 3 hours. Yeah.
Okay.
And
I'm assuming it did not go well.
He said, that's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And to me, getting up in front of a crowd of people and trying to make them laugh would be the hardest thing I could ever think of doing. So, but not everybody looks at this as easy. But boy, if you manage to make a living at it, it's a great way to go.
I don't know if there's a worse feeling that when you have, let's say, for instance, a 15-minute segment and you feel like you've done so much and you look up at the clock and you go, why is there 7 minutes left to go? Oh, that is fear.
You know, my wife has always given me a hard time because I've got to know what time it is. Okay? I've got a little projector that projects the time off the ceiling in our bedroom.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just trying to, is it comforting just the way it used to be, knowing, you know, what time it was and how much further you had to go in the segment, like Los is saying, we got 7 minutes to go. Is that really the reason?
I've got to know what time it is.
That's wow. I got to tell you, I don't.
Donna, I'm sorry. I lived by the clock for 50 years doing this stuff. I've got to know what time it is. I used to be able, they could run a stopwatch on me. I haven't tried this lately. Click the stopwatch and I'd talk for 60 seconds and stop.
Wow.
60 seconds. There was a reason for that, but I not looking at a clock or a watch or anything. I don't have those skills. I have very few now. Then you mentioned the YMCA.
Oh, yes, we did. We mentioned the Village People, and then it led us to YMCA, of course.
Ever stayed at a YMCA?
No.
No, that was my point, was that can you still do that? I don't know that you can still do that.
I don't know, but I stayed at the YMCA in Houston one time. I was hitchhiking home. Well, look, I was not the favorite child, okay?
Clearly. They wouldn't even send a car for you.
No, hell no. I mean, like Christmas, my parents are living in California. My brother and sister are going to the University of Texas. I'm going to Texas A&M.
You've let the family down.
Yeah, my parents send out the tickets to bring us all home for Christmas. They're on airlines. I'm on a train.
So instead of taking the train, you thumbed it home?
Well, when we lived in Pensacola, I didn't have a car, and I didn't want to spend the money on a bus, so I'd hitchhike between College Station and Pensacola. But at any rate, the YMCA. So I stayed in the YMCA in Houston one time, and in the middle of the night, I hear this ring. What the hell is that?
Yeah, what was it?
And I get up, and some guy out in the hallway is trying to unscrew the vent in the bottom of the door into my room.
Oh, wow. That's got to be unnerving a little bit.
That was my one stay in the YMCA.
Were you able to get yourself clean and have a good meal, though?
I did not take a shower.
Did you have anything to eat?
You know, and back then, I don't know about now, back then, if you wanted to use a swimming pool at the YMCA, no clothes.
Hang on, Neil. That can't be right.
Ask around.
You had to go any double K by God ID?
You're finding out a lot today.
Ask around.
Okay, I'm not sure who to ask. You'd be the person I would go to. Maybe Cameron. I guess we can ask Cameron.
Y'all have your real ID cards now?
Yeah, so my wife actually brought this up over the weekend. She was terrified. She was like, well, we've got to get this done. And I was like, Laura, we already have it done, hon. I pulled out my driver's license, and I showed her the big star on there. We're all set. Yeah. We're all good. And she was like, can you look it up to be sure? And I was like, Laura, I'm sure.
What is the deal with these people? How this has been decades in the coming. Decades.
Yeah.
What's with these people that never managed to go out and get their real ID on their driver's license?
I can't answer the question. It was just there.
Just seems like an adult thing to do.
Yeah.
And how long is it going to be? And it's probably already happened. How long is it going to be before they start screaming racism about people that don't have the real ID on their driver's license yet?
Sure, they've already done that. I feel like that's a gimme.
They had to already do that.
May I help out with the whole nudist thing, the whole nude thing?
Yeah, please, let's go back to that because I feel like we just brushed across it.
I don't want us to have unfinished business, especially when Neil gives us something like this. So until the year 1965, YMCAs required you to be naked in order to use their pool. But even though that had changed in 1965, most YMCAs did not change the practice until 1975.
Help me understand the wisdom, Neil Bortz.
I don't know.
Ain't nobody can answer that one. Hey, it goes back to the village people, I believe.
Well, I guess it's it goes back to hell, I don't know. I mean,
nobody can tell us.
But the fact that Neil knew about it, I'm like, that can't be. No, he's right. He's dead on.
You know, I remember now, back in that era, I was a competitive swimmer.
Did you swim naked?
And well, no, but you might as well with that little banana hammock we had to wear. By the way, Tug, why do you always come to work with the Crown Royal bag?
Well,
true.
Well, it's just, I just put my headphones in it.
Neil, he always has a new one like every week or so.
That's untrue. Neil Morse, that's untrue. Carlos Medina is lying on me right now. Okay, it's every 3 weeks.
What are y'all doing about Mahendra Patel?
Nothing.
As of right now, I'm standing down.
That is perhaps one of the sickest, saddest. I can't wait for the lawsuits.
Yeah, that's going to be one of those stories that if the rest of the public doesn't know, I think they're going to know here probably in the next few days.
Well, I'm surprised it hasn't made it to more network newscasts, but Caroline Miller, I really hope she gets sued. Folks, this is the story about Caroline Miller and her 2 kids. She goes to a grocery store. Don't care what kind of grocery store it is.
I can tell you if you want to know.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's Walmart Ackworth.
Yeah, it's a Walmart.
Oh, Walmart Market. Okay.
In Ackworth.
Yeah. Anyway, her kids, Mommy, let's ride the motorized. Yeah. Okay. Well, we're not handicapped, but you all like to ride that, so we're going to ride that. So she piles her kids on that. She's tooling around, and Mahendra Patel walks up to her and asks her. He's trying to find the Tylenol, and some sort of gesture ensues where she kind of moves to point, and one of her kids looks like he's falling off that motorized grocery cart, and Patel grabs the kid to keep him from, in his story and most of the witnesses, to keep him from falling, and all of a sudden Caroline Miller saying, he tried to kidnap my child. He grabbed him off my lap. He tried to kidnap my child. And Patel just walks around the grocery store, does more shopping, finds his Tylenol, walks by Caroline Miller, shows her the bottle. See, I found my Tylenol, thank you. Leaves, and then he's arrested for kidnapping.
Yeah, if there was an abduction attempt, he sure doesn't show any urgency after what occurred.
No. So he's been in jail for 45 days now without bond. And a guest of the lovely Ackworth Police Department and a Cobb County District Attorney that wouldn't know his blivet from a navel.
You imagine that the video alone and then the actions thereafter would spell out pretty clearly what this is.
Well, some people have suggested there's a feud between, I don't know how she pronounces her name, Ashley Merchant or Merchant.
Merchant, yeah.
Merchant. But there's some sort of feud between her and somebody associated with the Cobb County DA's office and what have you. If that's the case, we have somebody in the Cobb County DA's office that's going to be brought to reckoning. But like I say, I'm looking forward to the lawsuits. There's got to be lawsuits here.
Yeah, it seems like.
What's that music playing?
Oh, we don't have time for that, Dre. We're not ready for that, Dre.
We had a bear attack.
Wow, in Florida?
Not too many miles away from where I live. Some 89-year-old guy, and his dog killed by a bear.
In Florida?
Yeah, we got, I don't know, how many thousands.
But it's that's just not a common thing to hear, like shark bite, alligator bite, snake bite.
Most of them are afraid of you. Like
right,
they take off.
They are, yeah. But listen, you show me a bear in the wild, and I need a pad immediately.
and by the way, Neil, just so you got on Ashley Merchant, she was the woman who had to bring forth all of the issues for Fonnie Willis. So if you want to talk about stuff going on between offices, there's your story.
She's obviously not a favorite of some people out there, and her representation of Patel may be one of the, it may have caused some people to dig in their feet and keep him in jail as long as they possibly could get away with it.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't seem like the right thing to do there.
Well, we didn't get a chance to talk about the influencers on the cruise ship.
Oh, well, let's do before we have to wrap up here.
It was a Lamborghini yacht down there in Miami, not far from Star Island, where Ivanka Trump lives.
Okay, well, I've never heard of it.
What is it? Neil, lay it out. This is a great story.
What's a Lamborghini yacht?
Well,
just
Lamborghini
brand?
made, I don't know, 6 or 7 of these things.
Okay.
They're a couple of $1 million, 60-something feet long. But they put a bunch of female influencers on this thing. Now, the boat is rated for about 16. They had about 32 people on it. And I think so many people that the transom slipped below the water and water started coming on. And these influencers, these airhead influencers, are up there on the top of the boat taking selfies of themselves
as
while
it's going down. Yeah. I did say I didn't realize when you started out with Lamborghini. I didn't realize it was a Lamborghini yacht. I just knew there was a big boat in Florida that sank and people were taking pictures. That's the dumbest thing in the history of the world.
I'm right here on the Gulf. I never see big boats. I was ticked off that the SS United States wasn't towed by here like it was down the East Coast, but never see big boats. And the other day, a gorgeous yacht came by pretty close to shore. It's the first one I've seen. I mean, I've only been living on the beach for 6 years. So
it's a $4 million boat, by the way, that Lamborghini.
$4 million.
$4 million.
If you have to ask.
Yeah.
If you have to ask.
You can't afford it.
Well, I told you the story about a friend of mine that had a 135-foot yacht.
I must have missed that one.
Yeah, and he had a bunch of friends out for a little Caribbean cruise, and they went to the Atlantis in Nassau, and he told them, he said, okay, dinner's ready for all of you in this restaurant up there, and the captain and I were going to take the boat and get it refueled. And one guy says, hey, I want to cover that. I want to pay for that. The owner said, no, trust me. I'll cover it. It's all part of the deal. No, and the guy got obnoxious about it. So the owner said, fine, you go with the captain. You can pay for the refueling. The guy came back. Boat was full. He didn't say a word for years. And then finally he said to the owner, the next time I offer to fill this damn boat off, just push me overboard. The tab was $22,000.
Good Lord. No way. 22 grand.
I mean, it only cost me $600 to fill up the ports bus.
Yeah, let me tell you.
$22,000.
Buddy, that's going to put a dent in your budget.
Okay. All right.
Neil.
Atlanta tourism is going to suffer because of Trump's tariffs. Read the paper today.
Yeah.
That's not why Atlanta tourism is suffering.
There's a lot of reasons. That ain't one of them.
Tariffs ain't it.
No, that's right.
Okay.
The Top Master Neil Ford's the best in the business, the best there ever was or will be.
Horse manure.
No, sir. No, sir. Smells good in here. Neil, thank you.
Y'all be good.
Yes, sir. God, I love that guy. You never know You never know where he's going. From Crown Royal to sinking boats and everything in between. I don't want Stephen A. Smith near the White House, but he's making some sound points about the Democrats. I'll tell you what they are next on Extra 106.3.
Your favorite Extra shows are streaming live video from the studio on Extra 106.3's YouTube channel. Subscribe to the Extra YouTube channel and get the Morning Extra and the Kimmer Show in live digital video.
Good morning, it's Los. Let's talk about the honest car guy, because you're wondering, like, okay, well, tell me about the honest car guy. Well, that's Tom Mitchell. And what Tom does is he looks to make sure that you save thousands of dollars when it comes to purchasing your next vehicle. You're like, well, how exactly does he do that? Well, he's got a very transparent process. You can check it out, honestcarguy.com, honestcarguy.com, or you can call 844-SHOW-ME-1. That is show me the number 1. What is he going to do for you? First off, he's going to tell you, here's how the car buying process works. Here's how cars end up finding themselves in those lots and in those showrooms. And then here is the price that's associated with when that occurs. That is what you are cutting out by working with the honest car guy. He's going to take you through the entire process. You just name your make and model, and he will start searching all around the country for it. You know what else you're going to find out? That vehicle that you're looking for, it costs different amounts of money depending on where in the country it is. That's one of the transparent issues. You might look at it and say, hey, this is cheaper getting it out of Austin than it is out of New York. Surprise, surprise. That's how you end up getting that vehicle. And once they've secured the vehicle, you will have an honest fee. That is a transaction. That's the entire process. Give Tom a call. Check it out, honestcarguy.com or 844-SHOW-ME-1. That's 844-SHOW-ME, the number 1.
The latest sports news, powered by 680 The Fan, and driven to Extra listeners by RBM of Atlanta in Sandy Springs, Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Good morning. Here are your sport headlines for Tuesday, May 6th. The Atlanta Braves continue the homestand as they beat the Cincinnati Reds last night. 4-1 the final. A.J. Smith-Shawver, outstanding last night, throwing a career-best 8 innings, giving up just 1 hit. Tonight, Chris Sale gets on the mound for the Braves. He'll be opposed by Andrew Abbott. First pitch is set for 7:15. You can hear that game live on our sister station's brand new app, 680 The Fan. The nation's top quarterback and second overall prospect has committed to the University of Georgia as 5-star Jared Curtis out of Nashville, Tennessee will be part of the 2026 recruiting class. He selected Georgia over Oregon as his finalist. With your sports headlines, I'm Carlos Medina.
Want the truth about shopping for new floors? Big box stores might have flooring departments, but Empire Today has flooring experts. There's a huge difference. At a big box store, you might be getting help from someone who's in flooring today, but was stocking toilets yesterday. With Empire, you'll work with a dedicated flooring expert. We bring the store to your home, help find the right floors for your lifestyle, and answer questions. All while you view hundreds of samples with your own furniture, decor, and lighting. You'll get an all-inclusive price estimate and can schedule installation as soon as the next day for in-stock styles. That's Empire's home floor advantage, working with experts who specialize in one thing: flooring. For a limited time, use code RADIO to get $500 off your contract of $3,500 or more when you call or visit EmpireToday.com. That's $500 off with code RADIO. You know the number.
800-588-2300 Today.
Offer may not be applied to sales or combined with other coupons, discounts, or savings. Terms apply.
This Mother's Day, don't just buy a gift, make one. Only at D. Geller & Son Jewelers, you can build mom a one-of-a-kind piece of jewelry, designed by you, crafted by our master jewelers. Here's how it works. Pick a ring, bracelet, or necklace from our Mother's Day collection, pick the birthstones that represent your family, and our master jewelers hand set them into something that's hers forever. May 11th is coming up quick, but D. Geller & Son has been working gifting magic since 1939. We'll craft your perfect Mother's Day gift right here in our shop, so you can have a totally custom one-of-a-kind gift in days, not weeks. No shipping, no mystery. Pick the jewelry, pick the gemstones, and we'll make it perfect. Nothing cookie cutter, nothing off the shelf, just real precious gemstones and jewelry, real meaning, and one-of-a-kind memories. Prices start at just $3.95, because at D. Geller & Son, unforgettable doesn't mean unaffordable. So come build your own Mother's Day jewelry only at D. Geller & Son, crafting unforgettable memories since 1939. 1939. In Kennesaw, Sandy Springs, and online at dgeller.com.
There are nut jobs on the road. Who knows where they learn to drive? If one of them hits you, don't take care of it on your own. Call my friend David Van Sant, 855-GA-INJURY. Van Sant Law, one of Georgia's top-rated personal injury lawyers and car accident firms. Time is of the essence. Don't waste any. The longer you wait to get the right lawyer, the longer it takes to get the compensation you deserve. Call Van Sant Law today. The number is 855-GA-INJURY. VanSantLaw.com.
You can make a lot of good arguments the federal government can help out in a lot of ways, but I'd say a good 40 to 50% of the federal government spending is wasteful.
The Kimmer Show every afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. on Xtra 106.3 and the Xtra app.
Tug and Los until 10 on the Morning Xtra. 7 o'clock hours brought to you by Van Sant Law Group. If you're in an accident, make the right call. VanSantLaw.com. Sometimes I like to listen to Stephen A. Smith. I'll admit to that. Sometimes he says things that are thought-provoking and gets me to thinking, and, it makes me go, hey, man, he's exactly right, or, man, he's way, way left of center. He's just off base altogether. Now, I don't want the guy running for office. I wouldn't vote for Stephen A. Smith to
be a huge
president.
pay cut.
Yeah, no, for him it would, for sure.
The highest paid ESPN employee right now, I believe.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, we see people do it all the time. Donald Trump took a big pay cut to go, So it happens, but I just don't believe in Stephen A. Smith. I think he's one of those guys that reads the room really well and is smart enough to pick up on what needs to be said. Whether he believes it or not, he just knows what needs to be said and is good at it. I take nothing away from him. I think he's a really, really talented dude, but I wouldn't vote for him. When he was on with Jake Tapper, though, he was talking about the Democrat Party in the state and the disarray they're in. And I want you to hear what he said because I think he nails it here.
We know who the extreme left is. We know how they go about operating. We know what we lean towards when it came to open borders. We know that the spending was excessive, even though it's excessive on the Republican side as well. I think a $37 trillion budget, when Republicans try to act like it's just the Democrats, that's not true. But the Democrats certainly shouldn't be absolved from blame in that regard. Certainly with identity politics, woke culture, cancel culture, I thought that was something that ravaged our nation psychologically, because you had people literally scared they were going to lose their jobs if they pronounced the wrong pronoun, for crying out loud. It got that bad, and I think that's one of the reasons that Donald Trump is in office today, because so much stuff, a lot is focused on the individual as opposed to actual policies itself. I'm talking about what they preached and what they talked to the American people about, more so than what they're doing. The kind of messages that they were disseminating was incredibly uncomfortable to listen to and to hear, and I thought that it wasn't emblematic of what most Americans are thinking about. They're trying to pay their mortgages, rent, buy food and groceries, pay gas, and deal with the prices, the cost of living.
And all the things he said, because he kind of shifts around a little bit, but the one thing he said, if you picked up on it, you had people literally scared they were going to lose their job if they said the wrong pronoun. That is, in a nutshell, what the Democrat Party is. That's what they represent, and that's why they lost so badly.
What Stephen A. Smith is doing is he's speaking just typical centrist common sense. That makes him an outlier.
Right.
If he was ever to consider, and again, he never will. This is what you
another avenue to make money.
You now have people that have recognized that if you are willing to share your opinions on certain topics, if you can ever expand out into politics and have an articulate, smart opinion that's well researched, then suddenly you're like the next great weapon. Clay Travis went from being a morning show host in Nashville to doing Fox television to now on the #1 show in all of the country.
And sold his website for millions and millions.
Plenty of money,
which,
by the way, was already a sports website that had more of a conservative viewpoint, that was calling out the craziness of what was happening with woke culture in sports. And so I think Stephen A. Smith is just recognizing, here's which way the wind is blowing, and I'm talented enough to do this. The problem is the messaging for that side. They're not going to listen to it.
But it's interesting because I think people that probably, maybe even center-left people that are looking for something, probably hear that and go, well, that actually doesn't sound crazy. That's the first person on our side that doesn't sound crazy.
And I guess that's the problem. if we were to poll test this, and when I say poll test it, you stick it on Bill Maher Friday night at 10 o'clock and you watch what the HBO audience does, they're the ones who are going to sit on their hands.
Yeah.
Because that's just too common sense.
Because he's been on there with them a few times, and they don't.
Too common sense for them.
That's right, the crazy hard left. But look, Bill Maher many times.
He said pronouns, and they're like, oh,
you can't talk about that. You're not supposed to say that.
That's a they.
Yeah, that's right. You make sure you get it. But that's the thing. Even Bill Maher, he gets booed on his own show sometimes, or they'll sit on their hands and not clap for him.
They'll give him the look of, "Are you really supposed to say that?"
Yeah, right. Just intimidating.
He's like, "Come on, I hosted a show called Politically Incorrect."
Yes.
Come on.
Yes, that's what I'm supposed to do. When we continue on Extra 106.3, I love when Trump turns the tables on the leftist mainstream media. He did it again. We'll play it for you next.
Time for the Bortz Report, exclusively on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Extra 106.3.
Watching The Five on Fox News Channel yesterday, and oh, how I miss Bob Beckel. Anyway, Harold Ford, the designated lefty, does a good job, by the way, fell into the old left-wing anti-capitalist trap of how people with a lot of money spend it. He asked, why does a billionaire need another house? Lefties love this kind of language. Why does somebody need to throw an expensive wedding, an expensive birthday party? And the answer to this craziness is so easy. Why does a billionaire, those are the evil people now. There's so many millionaires that we've got to move on to billionaires being evil. Why does a billionaire need a second home? Yeah. Why did the sawmill workers need a job cutting the lumber? Why do the sheetrock hangers need that money? Why do the people that manufacture the furniture and the appliances and the carpeting, why do they all need those jobs? Why do the florists that provide the flowers for an expensive wedding, why do they have to have a job? Why do the entertainers, the workers, the servers, the cooks, the facilities, why do they all need to make money just because somebody wants to throw an expensive birthday party? Don't we all know that these filthy billionaires should be giving that money away to help the poor and the less fortunate? People with skills, people who work, they need to be punished for the benefit of the poor, pitiful poor. The best way in America to help the poor is to not be one of them. Stay in school. Don't use drugs. Get a job. Stick with it. Don't get pregnant with a baby you can't afford to raise. The roadmap is there. Learn to read maps. Neil Bortz, Extra 106.3.
Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Extra 106.3 FM.
Advisory services offered through Master Plan Retirement Consultants, Inc., a registered investment advisory in the state of Georgia. Insurance, tax, and commodity services offered through Fricks & Associates, Inc., DBA Master Plan Retirement Consultants. The aforementioned are affiliated companies.
Retirement means different things to different people. Some folks want to travel the world. Some folks want to spend more time with grandkids. For me, I'm looking forward to spending more time with my guitar. Whether extravagant and robust or simple and cozy, every retirement needs a plan. You wouldn't take a trip without directions. You have to know where you are before you know where you're going. Master Plan Retirement Consultants have helped many like you plan for their own retirement. Not only does Master Plan help you create the roadmap, they join you on the journey. So whether you want to travel the world, become a pickleball champ, or just looking for a good porch, a sturdy rocking chair, and an acoustic guitar, remember to plan well because the destination is worth it. Visit masterplanretire.com to schedule your complimentary consultation today.
This is Atlanta's new home for Fox News, Extra 106.3 FM, WFOM and W292 EV Marietta, a Dickey broadcasting station. The 8 a.m. hour is brought to you by Central Heating and Air.
Will trade talks be tense at the White House? I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. We'll find out in a few hours when Canada's new leader shows up for a meeting.
When asked at the White House Monday what he expects from his visit with Canada's new Liberal Party Prime Minister Mark Carney, President Trump said,
I don't know if he's coming to see me. I'm not sure what he wants to see me about, but I guess he wants to make a deal. Everybody does.
They all want to make a deal because we have something that they all want.
The president did praise Carney last week, and Carney said of his phone call with the president that it was very constructive. He said his government will fight to get the best deal for Canada, that he knows the discussions will not be easy. But as for Canada becoming the U.S.'s 51st state, Carney has said this will never happen.
That's Fox's Jessica Rosenthal. Trade will also be an issue in Congress, where Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent will testify this morning.
Bessent is likely to face questions not just from Democrats, but also Republicans on the administration's plans on tariffs, as many lawmakers are facing questions from constituents who export products to other countries.
Fox's Ryan Schmelz at the Capitol. Other Trump cabinet members will also testify at the House this morning. The Homeland Security Secretary will be asked about the new plan to get illegal immigrants to self-deport, paying for their flights and giving them $1,000 after they've left. Christy Noem tells Fox.
It saves us thousands and thousands of dollars, and it also is a much safer situation for officers and for those in communities.
For a second night in a row, Ukraine attacked Russia with drones. Some reached the capital.
Moscow's mayor claims at least 19 Ukrainian drones were destroyed before they reached the city. Sergei Sobyanin says some debris landed on a highway, but there were no casualties. All 4 of the city's main airports closed for several hours as a precaution, but have now reopened.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. Israel's been hitting Houthi militants with airstrikes in Yemen, and today warned people living near the airport in Sana'a to evacuate as the Israelis retaliate for a missile launched by Iran-backed Houthis over the weekend that did damage near the busy Tel Aviv airport, disrupting flights. America's listening to Fox News.
Allie Dwyer and her 3 sons lost their hero, Stephen. Serving our country in the United States Army was Stephen's calling, and flying helicopters was his passion. Stephen was killed in a Black Hawk helicopter crash over the Mediterranean Sea. Thanks to friends like you, Tunnel to Towers provided his family with a mortgage-free home, giving them security and hope in their darkest hours. Help more families like the Dwyers. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
Quiet down, here she comes. Surprise! Your accountant just emailed to say your quarterly taxes are way higher than you were expecting.
At Progressive, we know small business owners don't usually like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting discounts with a commercial auto quote from Progressive.
Also, your favorite employee is leaving. They're going to pursue their dream of being a veterinarian.
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
No traffic, no big deal. It's the Morning Extra on 106.3.
God, this guitar is so ridiculous. Yeah, Dwayne Allman on that gold Les Paul playing this hook. So good. That's just the best. Tug and Los on the Morning Extra on Extra 106.3. Thank you for being here, 404-741-1230 at Extra 106.3 across the social media platforms. That last segment, you brought up something where you're talking about if Stephen A. Smith were to take, a political job.
Yes.
He would have to take this huge pay cut.
Monstrous.
No question about it. Donald Trump in this next cut references something like that. You'll hear him say at the end, I was very wealthy when I came in. Being president probably cost me money if you look at it. And that's right along the lines of what Los was saying. Stephen A. would have to take a gigantic pay cut. And
he's not Trump wealthy.
Right. Well, there's that. But then on top of that, he's not going to convince the hard left that he would have to get to vote for him anyway. Right, which was your point in that last segment. Is
right. Why hurt yourself?
Right. Why take a pay? Why take a pay cut and get your teeth kicked in?
Exactly.
By the people that you're trying to, I guess, help. I want you to hear this cut because this did not air on Meet the Press on Sunday morning. This was a segment that was recorded and they didn't air it. I wonder why. Could it be because the press is just not curious? I'm a relatively curious guy. When I hear things, it makes me think. And I'm afraid that why they didn't play this is because they were afraid you would think about it. And that's why we're playing it on the Morning Extra. This is a cut from Meet the Press where Donald Trump calls out Nancy Pelosi. What for? Insider trading, because it's been alleged for years and years and years that she's been using her position to gain power and influence. And let me say this, too, before we play it. I think it was on Friday morning. I get this email that I sign up for from the AJC, and it gives me all their big headlines. Guess what one of the stories was? Marjorie Taylor Greene. Insider trading. They were alleging that she was using her position to insider trade and make, grip some money. Never one time did they bring up Nancy Pelosi. Wonder why. Wonder why it works out like that.
Weird.
That's also the reason.
How provocative.
That's also the reason that Meet the Press didn't air Donald Trump saying this.
If I own stock in something and I do a good job and the stock market goes up, I guess I'm profiting. But who really profits is somebody like Nancy Pelosi, who uses inside information. She worked for $175,000 a year, and that's at the high end, and she's worth $150, $200 million. Okay? You ought to look at Nancy Pelosi, and you ought to look at some of these politicians that are stone-cold crooks. I was very wealthy when I came in. Being president, I probably cost me money if you really look.
They didn't air that segment that you just heard. You ought to look into Nancy Pelosi. If they were curious at all, they would have done that years and years and years ago. But they won't. And because they were afraid you would think about it, they wouldn't even air the segment that they had with the President of the United States of America asking the same question that they didn't want you to think about. They didn't want me to think about. They didn't want us to think about. But the one thing that happens here is that we've already thought about it. We've already discussed it. We've already talked about it. I think all of us believe that Nancy Pelosi probably uses her platform to get incredibly wealthy at the behest, at maybe even the detriment of the United States and people that live here.
Well, Donald Trump calling them stone cold crooks. I think that there is a belief that Paul Pelosi and the rest of them, that there's always going to be some sort of like,
get out of jail free card.
No, more along the lines of, hey, listen, hand sanitizer is about to go nuts because here's what we have going on in this country. Get it over to Procter & Gamble. Like that happens, okay? But that doesn't explain going from I'm worth $1 million or $200,000 to I'm worth $40 million. Nobody trades that well. So when it says stone cold crooks, to me that's where are them kickbacks coming? How is that money finding its way back to you? And typically it's through all these NGOs and the way that they end up being funded, and that money comes right back into their coffers.
Interesting that he didn't say allegedly.
No, he said flat out.
Yeah, he just said it. He stated it. Because when I was setting it up, I said allegedly. I know I have to. Because not that Nancy Pelosi's listening to our show, but anybody listening could cause an issue. So I say it because I have to. Donald Trump doesn't.
No, he's flat out like, oh, you want to come at me with that?
Go ahead.
Go for it.
Because you don't want discovery.
We all know.
Yes, that's right. It's the worst kept secret in maybe politics ever.
I mean, the insider trading joke, it is a joke. That's there just so we think, oh, that must be the way they're doing it. It's not the way they're doing it because the alternative is too hard to think about, which is they're stealing your tax dollars. And they're funneling it and having it come right back to them.
I saw this over the weekend and I flagged it. I hope I can find it, and I didn't plan to use it here, but it only makes sense. I want to say that it was whomever shared this said that basically no, that's not it. Basically, it was there are about 6,000 NGOs that every USAID dollar went to. 6,000 of them. You would think there would be, I mean, at least I would have, that there were hundreds of thousands, right? With that kind of money being shared all over, but only 6,000 NGOs, if I have that number correctly, and it's in that ballpark.
And it's wild that when you look at the percentage of the money, how by percentage it's like 98% got, or this number got 98% of the dollars.
7,000 politically connected, so I missed it by 1,000, 7,000 versus 6. 7,000 politically connected NGOs receiving 90% of all taxpayer nonprofits. Roughly $300 billion in government money flows through those nonprofits every year with zero transparency or regard to where the money goes.
And it finds its way back into the politician's pocket.
Every time.
Because it doesn't matter how good of an insider trader you are. You're not going to take your money and, in this case, make it 200% larger. It's just not going to happen. The mathematics doesn't work. Nothing grows at that rate.
Yeah, like you're hoping your 401k grows at like 8%.
Yes.
That way you're able to retire.
Not 400% over the span. I was in Congress for 6 years. My money went up 400%. Oh, it did? Explain that one to me. Did your money suddenly become cocaine? Like, how did it get that kind of value?
Yeah. So you're seeing all these things happen. Although I do believe that Nancy Pelosi and people like her, they do like you did, the whisper, hey, by the way, I can't capitalize on this because it'll come back to me, but you can. Maybe you give me a little kickback later around the way. You know, you're able to use it. I'm not. Don't worry about me. I'll be fine because I'm going to get all this USAID money. I'll be just fine. Don't you worry about me. But please, if I can give you this little tip, maybe you'll buy me a drink one day or something of that effect. It's so funny, though, that they didn't have the courage to air that segment. They cut it out of Meet the Press on NBC because they're afraid of what kind of firestorm it would start. Because sometimes, Los, you have to look at the stories that they don't cover and the things that they don't say to figure out where their head is actually at. You know, there's all kinds of things that they could say or would say, maybe even should, but they know it'll open up a can of worms. And it goes back to what Jake Tapper was talking about. Look, they will freeze you out. They didn't say the Trump administration. Remember, he was talking about the Biden administration. I would say Democrats, by and large, do that.
There's areas they will touch. There's areas they will not touch. For instance, I'll give you a perfect example. So when entering into Congress in 2018 as part of her disclosure, AOC had a net worth of about $8,500.
I can only imagine what it is now.
On the low end, it's now worth about $500,000. Now, you'll see people that are like, she's worth $29 million. Okay, that's been refuted, and that's not true. From everything I've looked into, it's not true. But you turned a job in government that pays $100,000, considering the bills that you pay for in D.C. and the stuff that you have to do and the stuff you have to travel with, you have turned your $8,000 into a net worth of $500,000. It's good work if you can get it.
Absolutely.
Right?
How do I get it?
And what if it's more? What if she's worth?
Which I bet it is
$3-4 million.
I bet.
Your 2018 disclosure says you're worth $8,500.
Yeah, I bet. Much like the Biden family were able to maneuver, manipulate, move. I bet she's probably cashed in on that too. Something tells me. And look, this is not just a Democrat issue.
No, it's across the board.
Dude, it is all of them. All of them, even the ones you like.
That's why, part of the reason why I enjoy Donald Trump, part of the reason why I enjoy when it's Elon Musk, these people, it's very hard to corrupt them because they're not tied to money because they've already got plenty of it.
That's right.
It's still the same thing where, like, you know, I know Sammy the Bull, the mafioso guy, hitman, who talked about back in like the 70s trying to get to Donald Trump. And he's like, he got too much money. None of us can touch him.
Couldn't pay him off.
Elon Musk, what did he stood up in front of an audience, I think it was like 3 years ago. And he was like, seriously, you're trying to influence me with money? He was talking about advertisers. Yeah. And he was like, F off.
What? But that was when after he bought Twitter, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's like, they're trying to influence me with advertisers, like I'm going to be motivated by money.
It was Bob Iger, right? To his face.
At Disney?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he said, I don't need your money.
I don't need your money.
And that's why it's so absurd when, and we've talked about it a million times, so forgive me to bring this up again, but I think it is relevant. When they talk about him going through Social Security and finding the fraud and waste and abuse, he doesn't want your Social Security check.
You don't understand. He wants my check.
No,
he's going to enrich
himself.
He's going to enrich himself with government contracts. Tug.
Sir, he's not.
He's going to make himself sweetheart deals.
No, he's not. He already had all the sweetheart deals.
They were already giving to him.
NASA can't get to the moon. Elon can.
The Biden administration already was like, so what can we do to enhance these EV sales?
Yeah, what do you think? How about a discount? How about a tax break if you buy one? How about, can you go rescue the astronauts that we can't get home? Can you do that? Yep, I can. Well, don't do it till after the election. You know,
we can't take that kind of loss.
That's right.
You're gonna have to leave them people up there.
They've got to stay. But isn't it funny though? NASA, the brand, the branch that's supposed to go to the moon, that we've watched go to the moon, we've watched go into space. For sure.
I was having a discussion with a friend about conspiracy theories in Tug, and the joke was, Tug doesn't really partake in a lot of those, but every now and then.
Look.
It's like, that flavor good.
I gotta tell you, I want to believe. 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 And I.
Can I redefine my stance on the moon?
Yes, please, because help me, because I feel straddled right now. I do.
I am 80% sure that we went to the moon. What I do believe is, given the amount of radiation and the issues that you have to go through, I think we pre-took pictures.
Okay. I think that's belief. I think
that we pre-took studio pictures so that we could be like, listen, we went to the moon. What we brought back probably did not handle... it's like driving through a giant X-ray.
Yeah.
Flying.
Yeah.
You're in space.
Yeah.
But so it's going to ruin some things. I believe that we happen. Now, that's my conspiracy theory. Maybe I'm wrong. But that's giving a little bit of middle ground, right?
Yeah,
I'm not saying we didn't go.
No,
I don't need Buzz Aldrin punching me over it.
Yeah, right, because he would. That was his thing.
I don't want any of that smoke. I don't care how old you are. I don't need former astronauts, Mercury, Apollo, or otherwise, taking swings at me.
And the last thing you want to do is degrade what they were able to accomplish.
No, I think it's a scientific marvel.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Just the idea of putting people into that area of space. I'm not talking about putting some women into the atmosphere for about 3 minutes.
Oh, my God. Did you see Megyn Kelly making fun of those fools?
Yeah.
Did y'all talk about it?
Yeah. We didn't talk about it, but I saw her mocking. Yeah.
It was so grand.
It's not a new idea that we didn't go to the moon, because do you remember Moonraker? The really cheesy James Bond movie?
Yes, very cheesy.
No, I didn't.
79. There's a scene where they bust through a wall and they are in the middle of the fake
scene.
NASA. Yes,
the scene.
where they're setting up the fake NASA footage.
They set up a fake White House.
They
set up a fake Oval Office.
We had a movie just a couple of years ago, and it was what was it? Take Me to the Moon, and it was strictly on what if it fails? How do we create a scene that makes it look like we did it?
Makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense.
Okay, so there you go. That's your NASA point that you then spun me off into my conspiracy.
I did not mean to.
You put out the catnip, and I was like,
I didn't mean to.
I got to get after it.
We've got satellites that we can look in Los's window right now to see what's on his TV at home.
You wouldn't even need the sunlight, dude. The way digital exhaust works.
Turn that sucker around. I want to see a live stream of that flag up there.
Yeah.
Make it happen.
Yeah,
we do have markers up there as far as when we can use our high-powered lasers, and that's how we can judge distances.
Where'd that golf ball come down? How far from the pin was he?
Freaking laser beams.
I need to know.
Mike Myers shows up again on this show. That's 3 times in one show. Mike Myers shows up again.
Sharks with lasers on the moon.
That's right.
Have a warm meal. Too much to ask sharks with laser beams.
Freaking foreheads.
That movie does not stand up, but there are parts of that movie that stand up. Austin Powers, not funny, but parts are very funny.
Dude, when he's going back and forth on the golf cart trying to turn that sucker around.
It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. It's so good.
The guy who's like a football field away. It's like, no!
He's got the steamroller.
Yeah.
He says, get out of the way. Get out of the
way. And then in the beginning, was it Mufasa?
It's Mufasa.
Is it Will Ferrell?
When they eject him from the seat down in the fiery pit.
Yeah.
And he starts screaming like, I'm not dead.
I'm not dead.
I'm badly burned. That's funny.
So many.
And I don't know why, for some reason, the hairless cat cracked me up a little bit. Again, as a whole, not funny. Parts, hilarious.
That's right. That's exactly right. But I will watch the first one when it comes on. Sometimes the second one. Because Fat Bastard's a funny character. There's so many great one-liners.
Well, all the wiener jokes.
Yeah.
When they have what's flying over, and every single thing is
Willie.
It's
Willie Nelson.
Johnson, yes, sir.
It's so funny you say that, because that scene came up this weekend at the ballpark. And I don't even know why. The people sitting next to me, which I knew, but they were talking about that scene, and I threw in the Willie bit, and that continued their conversation. And I wasn't even part of it, but I just hit them with it, and they're like, yeah, and kept it going. There's just something about that movie, man, that is really, really funny. Like you said, as a whole, probably not, but when it's on, I watch it. It's bad movie that I watch and enjoy.
It's kind of funny when he punches the one woman and says it's not a woman,
That's
it's a man.
man.
And it's a totally different person. And it's got a beard and everything.
It's a man.
That's a man.
Man. So good, dude.
Okay,
So
yeah,
far ahead.
parts.
Anyway.
Parts are good.
Do we have time for one massive bill?
Let's get into it next.
We'll get into
it's a big deal.
The one massive bill and why it matters, why it's important, why Trump decided to do it this way. And Dr. Fauci was creating a weapon that was used against you. Next on the Morning Extra. 8 o'clock hour brought to you by Central Heating and Air Conditioning, your Atlanta carrier experts. 770-GET-HEAT, centralheat.com.
Neil Bortz is only live on Extra 106.3, bringing you daily commentary on the biggest topics of the day. Catch him throughout the day or hear his latest on the Extra 106.3 app.
Hello, Atlanta. It's Los. Let's talk about True Prep. Now, are you ready in case of an emergency situation? Now, for me, that's weather. But you never know what can come your way. That is where True Prep comes into play for you. What do? Well, it's just right off of Cobb Parkway in Marietta. You can go on into True Prep. First off, if you've never done any sort of prep work in the past, if you don't have any sort of extra supplies, it's a great company to work with because you can explain to them, hey, listen, I just want to make sure that I'm ready in case something was to occur and I lose power for a few days. Not a problem. They can help you out with the power supply. They can also help you out with food prep. That is one of the big deals that I'm into. I want to make sure that if something crazy does happen, maybe I don't have electricity, maybe I don't have a whole lot of options, I want to have stuff that I can make and have ready for my family just in case. Again, I went through Hurricane Michael. I saw what happens when you get a whole lot of issues with electricity and all your food spoils. What do? Well, you don't want to starve, and you don't want to go walking around trying to figure out where that next meal is going to come from. That's where I use True Prep. And personal security. Talk about their firearm selection. They can get you taken care of there. And some of the best prices on ammo in the area. Locally owned and operated. What do you do from here? You can head on over to Cobb Parkway, over to True Prep, or go online. True Prep. That's TRUprep.com. TRUprep.com. Prepare today for a worry-free tomorrow with True Prep.
Hi, I'm Chris Lalamia, owner of the Trusted Toolbox. Got a to-do list a mile long? No problem. We've got the ultimate solution, our Handyman for a Day program. Here's how it works. You get a skilled handyman dedicated to knocking out your honey-do list. Paint touch-ups, drywall repairs, door adjustments, and much more, all done in one day. You want to jump into spring and not worry about your home? Call us now before the rush for your Handyman for a Day and call us at 770-623-3097 or visit us at thetrustedtoolbox.com. One call, one handyman, one day. The Trusted Toolbox.
Things at the ballpark are really heating up. If too much celebrating leaves you in trouble after the game, it's important to know who to call. Call A Second Chance Bail Bonds. We handle bonds from the stadium to the city, and in most cases, we can have you or your loved one out in a matter of hours. A Second Chance. It's better to know us and not need us than need us and not know us. Call A Second Chance 24/7 at 404-BAIL-OUT. That's 404-BAIL-OUT. Or online at atlbail.com.
Don't miss the first MLB All-Star Week event at Truist Park as talent meets tradition in the 3rd annual HBCU Swingman Classic presented by T-Mobile and powered by the MLBPA Youth Development Foundation. Join fans, athletes, and alumni to watch Hall of Famer Ken Griffey Jr. shine a light on 50 of the best young ball players from HBCUs around the country on baseball's biggest stage, July 11th at 7 p.m. Get your tickets today at allstargame.com/swingman.
Hey, this is Matt from East Cobb. One of the issues that we've had when we first moved in was our dog in our backyard. It was extremely shaded, could never grow grass back there. ATL Turf Co. provided a pet-friendly turf, so it holds up to dogs. My dog likes to have friends over, so when they run around, chase balls, they can skid on it, they can slide on it. Nothing ever happens to it. The transformation of my backyard just looks amazing. We've referred ATL Turf Co. to all of our friends and family. Check them out online at atlturfco.com.
Want the truth about shopping for new floors? Big box stores might have flooring departments, but Empire today has flooring experts. There's a huge difference. At a big box store, you might be getting help from someone who's in flooring today, but was stocking toilets yesterday. With Empire, you'll work with a dedicated flooring expert. We bring the store to your home, help find the right floors for your lifestyle, and answer questions. All while you view hundreds of samples with your own furniture, decor, and lighting. You'll get an all-inclusive price estimate and can schedule installation as soon as the next day for in-stock styles. That's Empire's Home Floor Advantage, working with experts who specialize in one thing: flooring. For a limited time, use code RADIO to get $500 off your contract of $3,500 or more when you call or visit EmpireToday.com. That's $500 off with code RADIO. You know the number.
800-588-2300 Empire.
Offer may not be applied to sales or combined with other coupons, discounts, or savings. Terms apply.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines.
Here are your headlines for Tuesday, May 6th. A court hearing is scheduled today for Colt Gray, the alleged gunman in the Appalachia High School shooting last September. He is accused of shooting 11 people and killing 2 students and 2 teachers. He faces 55 charges, including malice and felony murder. A Honduran national who ICE says was in the country illegally since 2021 has pleaded not guilty in the murder of a 52-year-old grandmother in Cobb County. Coweta County schools are the latest victims of a ransomware attack. Officials say their system was hacked Friday night, forcing them to cancel SAT testing at 3 high schools over the weekend. A spokesperson with the school system said no student or employee information was part of the breach and no school financial information was hacked. And Governor Brian Kemp released a statement Monday night saying he will not run for Senate next year. Today's weather, partly cloudy with a high of 78. Tomorrow looks like scattered showers and cooler temperatures. With your headlines, I'm Jerry Payne.
8 o'clock hours brought to you by Central Heating and Air Conditioning, 770-GET-HEAT-CentralHeat.com. I'm hearing Brian Kemp's going to run, not run, but be the next president at the University of Georgia.
Is that what the...
That's what the...
we have been told by quite a number of people off the record that he was not going to run. As much as we talked about, hey, that Senate seat is wide open, it's good to go for him, and we were told a multitude of times he has no intention of being at least that level of government any longer.
And then the story breaks, and obviously it's here. So the next piece of rumor mill is that he will be the next president at the University of Georgia.
He did not select the Senate ball cap. He's putting on that G.
That's right, exactly right.
Just what's the new quarterback next year?
Out
the
of
prospect?
Well, the kid out of Nashville.
Jared Curtis is going to have an opportunity as the number one prospect. Well, remember he's class of 2026. So you are talking about a guy who's committed, right?
Yeah, got it. So that when they commit that far out, there's some flip-flopping sometimes.
Yeah, but from all indicators, and I'll put it this way, in that recruiting game, you will have some players where they go, okay, now we know who they're committed to and what the price is. Mm-hmm. This sounds like it's done.
Okay, good news. Well, look, anytime you get a 5-star in the door, and Georgia's been really good at that, then I like where you're headed.
It came down to Kirby Smart and Dan Lanning in Oregon. And so this was the direction that this young man was looking to go.
Man, I love college football. I hope they don't ruin it.
It's just what I told you. It's not win one for the Gipper anymore. This is a business.
I know.
It's business.
I know. I always enjoyed playing for the name on the front of the jersey. Those days.
You still get to do that. It's just a little different. It's just a little different now.
Yeah, kind of. One big, beautiful bill. Donald Trump's talked about it. Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, he has basically said, we have made incredible progress, Los, on getting this one big, beautiful bill to the point where we think we can get it through and get it done.
This is encouraging considering that I referred to the GOP in Congress as the team do nothing over the weekend.
Well, it's because they've always been that way.
They had a picture that they all got on the steps of Congress. I'm like, oh, look, it's team do nothing. Here's what they're doing. If you just want to keep score at home, I know Fox News has been covering it as well on our Fox News updates. You've had Donald Trump, who has signed 5 bills thus far. You had Joe Biden that had 11. Now, granted, he was a corpse and it was auto-penning them, but that was what his Congress was doing for him back when they had full control over everything.
Or at least the Democrats.
They were trying to be like, here you go. Keep signing these. In this case, though, this is from Speaker Johnson. He was a guest on Sunday morning on Fox News. And he's talking to Trey Gowdy. He starts lining out what I believe is going to be, this is going to be one big hammer bill. This is going to be a multitude of everything we've been talking about as far as tax cuts and new tax policy and lots of plans moving forward, all wrapped up into one massive bill. Take a listen.
Great to be with you. We will get this job done, Trey. The stakes are too high. The possibility of failure is one that no one wants to face. So I think at the end of the day, we'll get everybody together. We had a great meeting at the White House on Thursday, as the president indicated. We're working very carefully, Trey, to keep the coordination very close with the White House, with our Senate Republican colleagues, and with the House itself. I think that's going to be the magic that gets us through this.
All right, Speaker. First, you have to gain consensus within your conference. You got Medicaid, you have SALT. Are there other issues that aren't being talked about that you also have to work through, or are those the two main issues?
Well, those are big parts of it, and of course the various components of the tax piece of this. And people say, why are you doing this all in one big, beautiful bill? Well, you know, to remind everyone, we're using the reconciliation process because the Democrats are in no mood to do anything for the country. You know, Chuck Schumer and the Democrats in the Senate and Hakeem Jeffries and the Democrats in the House, they have no interest whatsoever in solving problems. So we have to do it ourselves, and you have to use the budget reconciliation process to do it. It avoids the 60-vote threshold in the Senate. So that's why all these various components of the bill are put together, complex pieces of the bill. But we're going to solve this equation, Trey. We have to. Now, here's the progress report. Good news. Over the last week, 7 of our 11 committees of jurisdiction got their pieces of that big, beautiful bill done. And so we have 4 committees yet to go, and then we push it back through the Budget Committee to merge it all together and send it to the Senate.
So 4 more committees to go. And because they are using reconciliation, this is where you have to be careful. Obviously, this is very spending oriented. It has to be. But at that point, you only have to worry about 50 votes in the Senate, 51 votes. So you don't even have to get the Democrats to play a little bit of footsie with you. You just push it right on through.
Which is imperative because they're not going to.
They're not going to.
They wouldn't even consider it. I mean, that should be a gimme.
I mean, just the very nature of when we talked about cutting taxes for the middle class, or no tax on tips, or no tax on overtime. Those are principles you can run on even as a Democrat. I voted for a bill that would allow this to happen for you, and they won't even do that.
Which would be so smart for them to do. So smart for them to do. Stephen A. Smith kind of talked about it. We played him an hour and a half ago. He made sense with that because the Democrats don't put forth anything. They just say resist, resist, resist. But the one note that I made as Speaker Johnson was talking in that cut you played, Los, was prove it. Because they've over and over and over again proven that they can't do anything. The do-nothing Republicans.
It's the do-nothing Republicans in Congress. But so if you're able to get this bill done, and I believe it's going to be massive as far as the stuff they're looking to do. Like the proposal is for $1 trillion to go to the military. At the same time, here are the cuts that are supposed to go along with it. Reconciliation has to stay on spending and budget limits and debt limits. I mean, that's the whole reason why you do it. And so if you're through 7 committees, then that means you've gotten through 7, you've got 4 more to go, and everything is going to be about making sure that you don't try and do anything that steps outside of the reconciliation process.
Because if you do, you're screwed.
Yes, that's when your bill is going to flatline at that point.
That's right. Get it done, Republicans. I wrote it down. Prove it. I want to see it. Look, I want to see it done. I want to see everything codified the way it should be. That way, when Republicans are out of office, the Democrats can't just take executive orders and get rid of them.
Well, we should have, at least the next 10 years, we should have tax certainty, not only for just small businesses, which is very important, but also corporate. We need to have clear tax code viability and transparency for another decade. And if we get that, you know, I know we've talked about it with a handful of congressmen about why not make them permanent. No one will get involved with permanent tax cuts. Everything has to be a window because then everything becomes a negotiation, 8-10 years from now.
And I was reading that more than any time in the past 10 or 15 years, we have more small business applications now than we have in recent history.
It's blowing up right now.
Because people believe Donald Trump is going to be able to do those things you're talking about. Give businesses certainty, no matter the size.
There seems to be, because of the amount of cuts that have gone on in government, and every single cut, we talked about how simple it is. The more you cut from government, the more money is available to the private sector. It looks as if we're going to hit a point now where there's going to be more capital for growth and development within the private sector coming in the next 6 months to a year.
Gosh, I hope so. That's what I want to see. That's what's going to be good for America, Americans, and business. It's always the Democrats believe government solves problems. I fundamentally disagree with that. I think it causes more problems. Is it a necessity? Yes, absolutely it is. Do you need some sort of government? Yes. But do we need the heavy-handed government that the Democrats want? No, we do not. I want an environment where people can succeed on their own merit. And I think that's what most people want.
Yeah, I want to just be left alone.
Yeah, that's right.
the very difference in myself and my liberal counterpart is that person believes they should be dictating the way that I go about my business and my life. I believe I shouldn't dictate to that person or to me.
So
government should not be dictating this stuff to me or to my liberal counterpart.
Yeah, it was Scott Bessent who said this over the weekend. It was aired on C-SPAN. Says that in March of 2025, the United States had one of the highest totals ever for new business applications. People are waiting, and they're just waiting to get to business because they have a great idea, or they have a small business that they think like this will make a difference in my family's future. This could be something that changes the trajectory of my kids and my grandkids, and they've been waiting for this moment to do it.
Yep.
And they see that little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. I think it's great. I'm excited about it. I hope that do-nothing Republicans can actually do something.
We're going to find out here. Now they're talking about summer. I'm looking at it right now. We're May.
Yeah, buddy. It's creeping up.
This ain't getting done here soon.
You better get on the horse.
You have political capital right now. Everything's rolling right along. If you're going to pull something off that's pretty large, here's the time.
You're down to about, 18 months? That you got everything?
You got carte blanche.
Yeah.
To do what you want.
Get it done. RFK, I love what he said, Los, when he talked about gain of function, the reason that we need to get rid of it. We all know it, and everybody knows it, but he said it out loud in the Oval Office, which has never been said before.
He sure did yesterday. All right, we're going to play the audio, but I just want to point this out before we do it. Gain of function research, what ended up bringing us COVID, what brought us that entire fun of 2020, that was because you had a lab that was looking to develop bioweapons. As much as the medical industry will say, we want to create pathogens so that we learn how to treat them. Oh, really? That's the idea? It's never been the idea. It's about creating weapons.
That's a dumb even excuse.
That's always been there. The idea is that if this ever comes out of nature, we want to know how to treat it. No.
You want to create it and create a weapon out of it.
There's no money in that.
Yeah. Plenty of money in weapons.
A lot of money in bioweapons. All right, take a listen to RFK Jr. summarizing how gain-of-function research is something that when it came to the executive order signed yesterday, it should not be done and we should not be subject to it.
Mr. President, gain-of-function is an historic day, the end of gain-of-function research funding by the federal government and also controls by private corporations on gain-of-function studies. This was the kind of study that was engaged in by the United States military and intelligence agencies beginning in 1947. By 1969, the CIA said that they had reached nuclear equivalency, that they could kill the entire U.S. population for 29 cents a person. That year, President Nixon went to Fort Detrick and announced a unilateral end to this kind of research, what they call dual-use research that was for vaccination and also for military purposes. He then persuaded over 180 countries to sign the Bioweapons Charter in 1973. That basically ended gain-of-function research around the globe until 2002. Or 2001, after the anthrax attacks, we passed the Patriot Act, and the Patriot Act had a provision, a little-known provision in it, that said that although the Bioweapons Charter is still in effect, and the Geneva Convention is still in effect, U.S. federal officials who violate it cannot be prosecuted.
Isn't that wonderful that the Patriot Act that kept on giving? You could spy on Americans. You could do what you were going to do in the interest of keeping everybody safe from terrorism, and at the same time, you also could reestablish gain-of-function research without worry about being prosecuted, which by a decade later, under Barack Obama, then turned into take this stuff away from this country. Go do it over. If you're going to do it, don't do it in this country.
Because we don't want to get caught.
And then it erupts out of China.
And from the New York Post, April 21st of this year, Anthony Fauci's fortune doubled to $15 million between early 2019 and 2023. I wonder why.
Strange.
It's odd that would happen.
Did he take on more jobs?
No, he didn't. He was doing one, and he wasn't very good at it. Or
Or
he was
excellent.
really good at it.
Or he was excellent
Yeah.
at helping engineer bioweapon. Now, apparently wasn't really good as far as covering up, decent job of covering up the fact that what he was responsible for.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't get a presidential pardon leading back to 2014 for anything I was involved in. Did you, Tug?
I didn't, Jure.
Jure?
Sure did.
You did?
Scot-free.
Devil.
Yeah.
You're a devil, too.
Like,
you and Fauci.
Why did you require a pardon?
You
How
and your
weird.
Clown nose.
Yeah, but again, I'm glad at least they had the discussion in the Oval Office.
Yeah, a place that it had been off limits.
Because when they do it was a novel virus. Yeah, because it was engineered, because we'd never seen anything like that in nature before, ever.
And likely, we'll never see it again. Nah, I take that back.
Well, we'll see.
Hopefully we'll never see that again. But there's once...
You said it earlier this segment. There's 18 months.
Yes, that's right. But that's the thing. You don't put the genie back in the bottle. You don't put the toothpaste back in the tube. Maybe it doesn't come, maybe because of this, it doesn't come from us. But who are we working on with it? The Chinese, Ukrainians. Might not come from us, but it'll be coming from something we paid for. Even if we stop now, we still funded it then, and that's when the toothpaste came out of the bottle. A Columbia University economist thinks that government is the answer to everything. Next on Extra.
The latest sports news, powered by 680 The Fan, and driven to Extra listeners by RBM of Atlanta in Sandy Springs, Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Good morning. Here are your sport headlines for Tuesday, May 6th. The Atlanta Braves continue the homestand as they beat the Cincinnati Reds last night. 4-1 the final. A.J. Smith-Shawver, outstanding last night, throwing a career-best 8 innings, giving up just 1 hit. Tonight, Chris Sale gets on the mound for the Braves. He'll be opposed by Andrew Abbott. First pitch is set for 7:15. You can hear that game live on our sister station's brand new app, 680 The Fan. The nation's top quarterback and second overall prospect has committed to the University of Georgia as 5-star Jared Curtis out of Nashville, Tennessee, will be part of the 2026 recruiting class. He selected Georgia over Oregon as his finalist. With your sports headlines, I'm Carlos Medina.
It is that time of year again. Chuck and his team at Central Heating and Air Conditioning, Chuck, the owner there at Central, bringing back the 5th annual Christmas in July, and it benefits Skyland Trail, an Atlanta nonprofit providing evidence-based mental health treatment plans and a path to wellness. So get yourself a maintenance agreement. That's where Central Heating and Air Conditioning sends out one of their expert techs twice a year to do the tune-ups. You know, like when you take your car to get the oil changed, get the radiator flushed, get the tires rotated, all those just tune-up things that you need done. Well, you do that to your HVAC so it lasts as long as it could possibly last. Like mine, we have one that's relatively new, and we have the other that is just limping along. But Central Heating and Air Conditioning continues to make it last. That's the thing. Man, I couldn't pay for that. I mean, we just went through a treacherous remodel of bathrooms in our house. About 7.5, almost 8 months. And $15,000 over budget. I did not have it in the budget to do another HVAC. And I didn't have to because they were able to salvage the one that had a leak in the coil. That's Central Heating and Air Conditioning. That just happened at my house last week. When you get a maintenance agreement, $10 from every agreement goes directly to support this incredible cause at Skyland Trail. So the more agreements we sign folks up for, the bigger the impact. Central Heating and Air Conditioning serves all and services all makes and models. So call them at 770-GET-HEAT or go to centralheat.com. Carrier warranty, carrier peace of mind at Central Heating and Air Conditioning, your Atlanta carrier experts.
Flounder here to remind you that Mother's Day is Sunday, May 11th. Make sure Mom knows how much you appreciate her with a sparkling gift from Solomon Brothers Jewelers. And they're also giving you something you and the whole family can enjoy as well. Solomon Brothers is giving you a free Big Green Egg grill with qualifying purchase courtesy of Fix-It Ace Hardware. Shop our selection of diamond tennis bracelets, diamond stud earrings, classic pearl style or vibrant gemstone jewelry. Solomon Brothers' large selection means you'll be sure to find something on her wish list. She deserves the best, and why not get something for yourself while you're at it? When other companies are raising prices, Solomon Brothers is giving you more, including a free Big Green Egg from our friends at Fix-It Ace Hardware in Roswell, Peachtree Battles, and Chastain. For details on how to claim your free grill, visit Solomon Brothers Jewelers in Buckhead or Alpharetta. Online at SolomonBrothers.com. Solomon Brothers is the preferred jeweler of the Atlanta Braves.
Convenience is defined as the state of being able to proceed with something with little effort or difficulty. Well, at RBM of Atlanta, we embody this philosophy. Meet our Mercedes-Benz pickup and delivery service. It gives you back time and money. Does your Mercedes-Benz need service? If so, we'll pick up your vehicle that's requiring service from your home or office and bring it back to our dealership for the required service. With over 100 appointments available every weekday, over 50 appointments on Saturdays, and more than 200 courtesy vehicles in our fleet, we're here to serve. We'll work around your schedule. We're here to save you time, energy, and money. RBM of Atlanta is a J.D. Power 2023 Diamond Dealer of Excellence for the customer sales experience and Georgia's only 9-time Mercedes-Benz Best of the Best winner. We're proud to be Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964. Pickup and delivery service restrictions do apply. Ask your service coordinator or service advisor for details. May in the A is upon us, and your Atlanta Braves have some incredible matchups and promotions in store this month. The Reds come to town May 5th through the 8th, followed by the Nationals the 12th through the 15th. Fans can add some bobbleheads to their collection, like the Rysel Iglesias bobblehead presented by Northside Hospital on May 8th, and the Marcell Ozuna bobblehead presented by Delta on May 14th. Visit Braves.com/May in the A to see more details and to purchase your tickets starting at just $10. Atlanta Braves Baseball. We are Braves Country.
Hey, it's Front Office Lowe's here to tell you about a new company that is changing the way people buy their next pre-owned car or truck. At The Honest Car Guy, they offer a completely transparent way to purchase a vehicle. You pay what he pays, plus a small, honest fee. You can choose any make or model. He will search the country for the best deal out there. He'll handle the paperwork, your trade-in, shipping, and even give you the bill of sale. Friends, I've done the research, and this is a buying process that you can trust. Call 844-SHOW-ME, the number 1, or visit online at honestcarguy.com.
Extra 106.3 is live on your ride home with a Kimmer, Pete, and Flounder from 3 to 6 p.m.
I've been saying for years, the federal government's not your friend. The federal government, for most points, is your enemy. It works against everything you and your family has believed for generations. The federal government has been working against us for decades now, and what Trump has done is he's exposed it. Yeah. And they're fighting, and the government is fighting back.
The Kimmer Show on Extra 106.3 FM and the Extra app.
I've told you that I believe government is much like Pete was just saying as we come back. They're the adversary of the American people. They use your money for things that you don't agree with.
Not your friend.
They're not your friend. They're never your friend. Never going to be your friend. I'm like Los. I just want them to stay out of my way, stay out of your way. Defend the borders, which they've been treacherous at, or they've done it exactly how they plan to do it. Depends on your point of view, I suppose. But government is not good unless you were to ask Jeffrey Sachs. He's an American economist, public policy analyst at Columbia University. And I was looking up the Earth Institute. I guess he is the former director of the Earth Institute. And I can only imagine what the Earth Institute's all about. Probably some sort of climate change.
The whole Earth?
Yeah, right. Sustainability, science,
like
collaboration.
Stacey
Yeah. What was that, Star Trek?
Running an entire galaxy.
That's exactly right. That's right. As she did. The Earth Institute was established in 1995 to advance our understanding of Earth science and apply that knowledge to decisions made by governments and businesses around the world. Turns out, I'm sure, just by that, I know it's some sort of, crazy lefty loony. The world's coming to an end. The oceans are going to overtake the lands and the shores while Barack Obama builds another house on those said shores. But I want you to hear from Jeffrey Sachs as he talks about government, knowing the way that we feel on this show, and probably most people listening to this show feels about government. Let me introduce you to Jeffrey Sachs. Listen to how he feels about government.
And there's one other concept that I find very, very useful, and it's actually embodied in the European idea. It came from the Catholic Church originally, but it's called subsidiarity. And the idea of subsidiarity is, let's get real. We need governments at all levels. We need a global government, that's the UN. We need a regional government. That's the European Union. We need a national government. That is the government of Cyprus. We need a local government. That is the Nicosia City Hall where we are right now. You have governments at all levels.
He named off 4 or 5 layers of government.
Sure did.
What do you think? You know what you have in local, state, and federal government. Do you like any of them? Do you feel like that your money is used well by the governments when they take it from you? I think the answer is hell no. And this dude wants to add more layers, not just your federal government of the United States. He wants to get the UN involved. He wants to have government at every turn and every decision made by those governments.
Every time you add a layer, you add another layer of bureaucracy.
And bill. Somebody's got to pay for it.
Somebody's got to pay for it. Government suddenly gets more expensive, and they pay less attention. And there's the ability to kick the can down the road. Well, whose responsibility is this? Well, it must be the local government. Well, I don't know if it's our responsibility. Maybe it's the state.
Let's just wait. We'll see how it plays out.
Exactly.
To never get anything done.
This is why, and maybe this is an oversimplistic view of this. If you've worked for a corporation, you recognize how difficult it is to, let's say, I don't know, get a TV and a recording studio.
Buy a stapler.
If you happen to work for a single owner, you just go to that person and ask.
Very similar to the way we operate in this building.
That's exactly how we operate in this building.
We go ask David Dickey, hey, this is what we have an idea for. We think this might work. What do you think about it? Do you think we can pull this off? Can we fund this some way or other? And he's going to give us the thumbs up and thumbs down. Sometimes he was like, yeah, let's do it. Great idea. Other times he might be, hey, you know what? Just not sure we can afford it right now. Maybe later. Or just thumbs down. No, I don't think that's a good idea. I'm not going to spend the money that this company makes on that project. But it's a simple up or down vote made in the corner office. Not 16 layers of bureaucracy like when you call in when your cable ain't working or your internet ain't working. You get passed around 20 times. That's like government working on the corporate level. But it's funny because you brought up bureaucracy, Los. And it reminds me because Angela was in with you yesterday and last Friday when she talked about working at the Department of Education as the spokesperson, press secretary in the first Trump administration. She said when she left D.C. after that job, she had 100 employees, co-workers that she had never met. She didn't even know they existed until she had left the office. 100, not 5, not 1, not 10, not 11, 100 people that supposedly worked with her as co-workers that she had never met. She didn't know their names or what they did. That's an example of what Jeffrey Sachs would like to do at every level of your life. Bureaucracy, just paying for crap that we don't know, we don't need, and it's not beneficial to you.
And imagine the situation where how many of those jobs are redundant?
Oh, I bet every one of them.
And every one of them probably, I would say, pays a very solid salary with government benefits, which have outpaced what you're seeing in the private sector. So not only are you looking to add more redundancy to what's going on, but you want to add more layers of control. I'm sorry, not interested. Ever.
No.
This era of cutting government is outstanding.
Absolutely it is. Absolutely it is. And those are guaranteed jobs up until Donald Trump. Those are guaranteed jobs. Nobody ever feared getting fired. And what did it come with? A nice pension. That was going to last the entirety of your life, and maybe even some of them you could pass down to your kids. That's what Jeffrey Sachs would like to see. That's what the Democrats would like to see. That is exactly opposite of what Los and I and Dre and probably you right now would like to see. But that's what you're up against. That is what the Democrats want to do in the United States of America. They would love to bog it down. They would love to turn over the authority of the United States, the sovereignty of the United States, to a global government. They would love to do it.
That's why we always talk about the power of nationalism, and that there are very few people left in this world right now, because I think we're seeing this across Europe. Where is nationalism? Nationalism is not a bad thing. Nationalism is, I want my country as strong as possible so that whether that means you can defend your country or that means you can help other countries. But the strength begins at home so that it can be projected abroad if it's necessary. The globalist view is that there should not be any of this stuff, that it should be this one world government. And the problem is so much of it, when you start talking about a one world government or here's our way of thinking, it leads in a slippery slope towards communism.
Always. Why do you think the CCP doesn't participate? They don't have to. They're not even asked to participate.
They're already doing their own version.
How many people are migrating to China? I'm like that are trying to get to the United States or trying to get to the these days relatively free nations in Europe. They're not dying to get into China. They're not dying to get into North Korea. Who's going to Russia?
Nationalism, not a bad word.
No, it's not. But
I'm an aggressive nationalist these days.
It'll be treated that way, though, out loud. It'll be treated that way in the mainstream media. It'll be treated that way everywhere you go.
What do you mean you believe in the sovereignty of your country?
You're damn right I do.
Open borders are great.
Yeah. Ask the Swedes how open borders are going this week specifically. Ask an everyday American how it's going here. Not well. The third Trump term is terrifying.
Uh-oh.
Terrifying to the lefty loonies.
Don't say that out loud.
Which is the gag. Next on Extra.
It's time for the Bortz Report, exclusively on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Extra 106.3.
Watching The Five on Fox News Channel yesterday, and oh, how I miss Bob Beckel. Anyway, Harold Ford, the designated lefty, does a good job, by the way, fell into the old left-wing anti-capitalist trap of how people with a lot of money spend it. He asked, why does a billionaire need another house? Lefties love this kind of language. Why does somebody need to throw an expensive wedding, an expensive birthday party? And the answer to this craziness is so easy. Why does a billionaire, those are the evil people now. There's so many millionaires that we've got to move on to billionaires being evil. Why does a billionaire need a second home? Yeah. Why do the sawmill workers need a job cutting the lumber? Why do the sheetrock hangers need that money? Why do the people that manufacture the furniture and the appliances and the carpeting, why do they all need those jobs? Why do the florists that provide the flowers for an expensive wedding, why do they have to have a job? Why do the entertainers, the workers, the servers, the cooks, the facilities, why do they all need to make money just because somebody wants to throw an expensive birthday party? Don't we all know that these filthy billionaires should be giving that money away to help the poor and the less fortunate? People with skills, people who work, they need to be punished for the benefit of the poor, pitiful poor. The best way in America to help the poor is to not be one of them. Stay in school. Don't use drugs. Get a job. Stick with it. Don't get pregnant with a baby you can't afford to raise. The roadmap is there. Learn to read maps. Neil Bortz, Extra 106.3.
This Mother's Day, don't just buy a gift, make one. Only at D. Geller & Son Jewelers, you can build mom a one-of-a-kind piece of jewelry, designed by you, crafted by our master jewelers. Here's how it works. Pick a ring, bracelet, or necklace from our Mother's Day collection, pick the birthstones that represent your family, and our master jewelers hand set them into something that's hers forever. Prices start at just $3.95, so come build your own Mother's Day jewelry only at D. Geller & Son, in Kennesaw, Sandy Springs, and online at dgeller.com.
This is House Call for Health. Tomatoes, distributed by a South Carolina-based company, are being recalled over bacteria contamination concerns. The Food and Drug Administration says the Williams Farms Repack Company recalled various size weights, layered packaging, loose and trays of tomatoes sent to sellers in Georgia, North Carolina, and South Carolina. The FDA says the recall comes amid concerns that tomatoes may be contaminated with salmonella. The tomatoes were distributed between April 23rd and April 28th. The recalled tomatoes are labeled under either Williams Farms Repack or H&C Farms brand names. The FDA says consumers who bought the tomatoes should return them to the place of purchase for a full refund or throw them out. No illnesses reported so far. For a list of sizes and lot codes, See the Food and Drug Administration recall site for Williams Farms repack. For more health news, go to foxnewshealth.com. House Call for Health on Lisa Brady, Fox News.
WFOM and W292 EV Marietta, a Dickey broadcasting station. The 9 a.m. hour is presented by Southern Exteriors. Quality and precision you can rely on.
For to Canada's leader as a governor, I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Prime Minister Mark Carney will go to the White House for trade and tariff talks in a few hours. The president has often suggested that Canada should be our 51st state, something Carney says will never happen.
Sometimes these meetings at the White House are scheduled after a deal has been agreed to, but according to Prime Minister Carney, the two sides are still a ways apart.
We're meeting as heads of our government to discuss that partnership. Now, I'm not pretending those discussions will be easy or they won't proceed in a straight line. There'll be zigs and zags, ups and downs.
The number one point of contention today, U.S. automakers moving operations north.
Well, that's Fox's Peter Ducey at the White House. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent will face questions at a House hearing next hour about trade talks and the Trump tariffs and concern about their effect on the economy. The Homeland Security Secretary will also testify at another House hearing, no doubt asked about the new incentives to get illegal immigrants to self-deport, paying for their flights out and giving them $1,000 after they've left.
Kristi Noem says the plan will save taxpayer dollars, noting it cost more than $17,000 for a migrant to be arrested, detained, and deported.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House.
President Trump says immigrants who do not self-deport will not have a path back to the U.S.
And speaking of flights, nearly 200 to and from Newark, New Jersey are delayed or canceled again this morning as that airport continues to deal with a shortage of air traffic controllers made worse when someone on leave last week because of the stress following a technical problem that briefly turned off radar and cut communications with planes. House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries blames the president.
As part of breaking the federal government, the Trump administration is breaking the FAA.
But Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy tells Fox.
We have really old infrastructure in America. It hasn't been updated in the last 30, 40 years. This should have been dealt with in the last administration.
America's listening to Fox News.
Allie Dwyer and her 3 sons lost their hero, Stephen. Serving our country in the United States Army was Stephen's calling, and flying helicopters was his passion. Stephen was killed in a Black Hawk helicopter crash over the Mediterranean Sea. Thanks to friends like you, Tunnel to Towers provided his family with a mortgage-free home, giving them security and hope in their darkest hours. Help more families like the Dwyers. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
Quiet down. Here she comes. Shh. Surprise! Your accountant just emailed to say your quarterly taxes are way higher than you were expecting.
At Progressive, we know small business owners don't usually like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting discounts with a commercial auto quote from Progressive.
Also, your favorite employee is leaving. They're going to pursue their dream of being a veterinarian.
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
What do you say to anyone who still doesn't understand America First? Tell the left now at 404-741-1230 on the Morning Xtra.
A fierce nationalist. That's someone that might call in right now, having just heard that, and say, I care about America before I care about anything else in the world. Like, do I want to see other countries be okay? Sure. Do I want to see them succeed and flourish? Sure. But I want to see America flourish first. That's the one I care about. That's home. That's the one that will make the world a better place and always has made the world a better place. But let me tell you, the Democrats to the left would love to derail that. They would love to change that into a America's terrible. I mean, that's their mantra. It's always been their mantra. America isn't worthy of the success that it's seen. It's not worthy of the things that it has. They would love to turn it over to a guy like Jeffrey Sachs, who we talked about in the last segment, the American economist and public policy analyst at Columbia University, who said government's the answer. More government. Every level of government is the answer. And for fierce nationalists like us, Los, that ain't gonna work.
No, we're going to make sure to say
push that out the pasture.
Not interested. And there's enough voters in this country that are in agreement with us. Now, you're going to have to stay on this on a regular basis. And I think a lot of it is you got to define the fight for people. that if you can reach people and point out, here's what these people, in this case it would be the far left, are looking to do to your country, here's what I'm looking to keep it as, and you make it a choice. And we're seeing this predominantly, and this is what's so encouraging. Because I think that at one point everyone looked at Gen Z and were like, oh, but what direction could these people possibly be going? They've bought into climate, and they've bought in. What has happened is as they've matured, they're moving way more towards us. Now, single women, that's going to be different.
Yes,
that's how that's going to be.
Yep.
There's two elements that continue to subscribe to this stuff. Young single women and boomers, 65, 70 plus. Outside of that, right now, the core of this country, of working class people, of just regular average Joes, are with us.
And that's because specifically the boomers that fall into that trap still get their news from Meet the Press. They still get their news from NBC and Kristen Welker. They still get that one-sided news. The news that's supposed to be fair and balanced. The news that's supposed to be, right down the middle. And if you listen to the president and CEOs of PBS and NPR, they'll tell you, well, we're straight down the middle. Straight down the middle.
Totally. And there's no bias at all.
What are you talking about? Why would they take our funding away? We're as neutral as can possibly be, and nobody believes it. Even the people that listen to it know it ain't.
So I proposed something yesterday while you were gone, and I missed you during this segment because I was wanting to talk with another radio professional about this stuff because remember, Angela Morbido, she's like TV and she's government and I'm hoping that as she gets involved in all this stuff, now she's going to be like that experienced media professional in terms of really put me against anyone from PBS. I'm going to wipe the floor with them.
Just dismantle them.
She'll be like, this is no problem. This is so easy. You and I look at it as, please bring somebody to compete with me from NPR. Let's see how that goes for them.
Because they can't.
Because they can't compete. Now, I was curious as to why on X you hadn't seen a post since 2023 from NPR. And as it turns out, because I was curious, I looked into it after the show. This was when Elon Musk and X referred to NPR as government-funded, government-assisted.
Is he wrong?
Where's the lie?
But because they didn't want people to have that, they don't want to give Elon Musk that ability to label them, although everybody knows it. Like I said, even people that listen to it know it. They didn't want to do that. They don't like X. They're not going to be there. That's where free thought is shared.
And then
they want to be away from that.
Government-related media.
Mm-hmm.
Like these are all aspects that are true. Now, what did NPR do in their straight down the line wisdom? Same thing with PBS. They went to Blue Sky and never came back. Because, I mean, that's what every centrist who is unhappy with being defined in this way would do. What do you mean I'm government related? I'll take my ball and go home. I'll go to Blue Sky, where everyone is legitimately down the center.
There's not a soul down the center over there. The only place that gives you free, unfettered access to every idea, the ideas you like, the ideas you don't, the ideas you agree with, and the ideas you don't, is Twitter, X. That's it. That's the only one. And it's not even close.
It's the most popular news site in the world.
In the entire world. Why did that happen? Because people realized once Elon Musk opened it up that they could say what they felt. They could give their opinion about a story. They could give their opinion about something they'd seen, and they were unfettered. No one told them no. And some people don't like that. Some people don't like being in an environment where you can be debated. Where somebody can throw up hey, I saw you said this. I disagree. I think it's that. And those people are like, well, if somebody's going to disagree with me, if I'm going to have to tolerate someone saying, no, what you're saying is not right, then I'm leaving. I'm going over to Blue Sky.
I'm taking my ball. I'm heading home. I'm so mad.
I'm done with you. Then Donald Trump, who triumphantly came back to X, and he still shares on X, but a lot of times it's, posts of his Truth Social, which I've never been a member, don't plan to be a member. I like X. That's where I'm staying.
Right. If you're going to send me over his stuff, well, send me over his stuff.
That's right. I'm not chasing you down.
No.
And he's
I'm verified now. Ooh.
That's how it works.
I got a blue check and everything.
That's exactly right. I want you to hear what President Trump told Kristen Welker on Meet the Press about the third term. And basically, it's trolling the people like her. This is, you got the Harry? Okay, all right.
I've got the Harry Enton.
Oh, you got the, okay, got it. I thought we were going with the other one.
So this is Harry Enton. And again, data analyst, here's all the polling data he does on CNN. Now, I took this differently than Harry Enton, okay? He's going to talk about what the American public thought about Donald Trump running a second time. And so this data obviously goes back now a couple of years. But then they propose another question. What about a third time? And this is where Harry Enton and I understand why he's doing it for this audience, but now I'll give you the other side of that pancake once you hear this.
GOP who say that Trump should run for another term. In May of 2021, for a second term, 66%, the clear majority of Republicans said, yes, he should run for a second term. Compare that to now where it's just 44% who say he should run for a third term. This is simply put just not a popular idea. When you're getting this fight back from the Republican base to a degree that we simply put have never seen before, you get the idea of why Donald Trump came out yesterday with his most forceful comments to date, saying, you know what, really, it's 2 terms for me, because even on this particular issue, he does not have the Republican base with him. And when it comes to the overall population, I'm going to end the same way I started. It is about as popular as the idea of New Coke was in the mid-1980s. Simply put, nobody wants this.
Okay, now here's where I'm going to say
I saw the number.
The number is 44%. You watch the economic data change over the next 2 years, I think that gets really quickly like a 55-60% range.
It wouldn't surprise me at all.
Because I was surprised to hear it was 44%.
That's
the one who
pretty
said,
giant number.
I'm the one who was like, no, you only get 2. According to the law, according to the Constitution, you serve 2 terms. That's it. 2 terms, that is all. And yet, there's 44% of this country already, after 100 days, they're like, run again, dude.
I'll take it. Dude,
I was shocked by that. Harry Enton and I couldn't see that more differently. I'm surprised it was 44%.
And I'm surprised that he interpreted it that way.
Yes, like, most of the Americans don't want it, but enough are getting close to doing it, to wanting it.
Give me 44% of people that agree on anything. I mean, that's a big number.
That's a big number for something that is supposed to be illegal in this country.
That's exactly right. And Donald Trump, because that's where I was going with it originally, he was saying, I'm trolling y'all. I'm absolutely trolling
with you.
He's having fun at your expense. For the people that are just losing their mind, just like with the Pope thing, when he had the Pope outfit on, and the fake news asked him, well, the Catholics are mad. He was like, is it the Catholics are mad or the fake news is mad? Because the Catholics that I see are laughing about it. Again, he's able to troll them. He's able to control their emotions. He's able to make them react to something that has no meaning. But then when you bring it up the way you have, Los, it actually kind of has a lot of meaning.
I was just shocked when I saw the number.
At the size.
Harry Enton, data analyst, CNN, saying most of the Americans don't want it. It might be true. 44%. We're already saying, yeah, let's do this, even though it's illegal.
Yeah.
Okay?
we still like the idea.
And we haven't even really gotten into the major legislation and all the stuff that's coming down the pike here.
Yeah, we're just talking about the big, beautiful bill. Last segment, if they get that done, if they were to get that accomplished, and then you see this groundswell of good economic data, everything trending in the right direction, and we're already trending in the right direction. But make it to the point where every ship is raised by the tide, you're right, that number is going to quadruple.
And the future is J.D. Vance here. And I believe this naturally rolls right into him.
Sure it does.
And more than likely, unless you get some sort of white knight that comes out of nowhere for the Democrats, they are in a lot of trouble when it comes to national elections now moving forward. Basically, even off these numbers, if 44% of the country is willing to violate the law by voting for Donald Trump as a third term, somebody you're not supposed to run for a third term, but if 44% of the country are willing to do that, do you really think you have a stand a chance when it's J.D. Vance?
J.D. Vance is like Aaron Rodgers waiting for Brett Favre to retire.
He's just like, I got this next. We're good here.
And is going.
How many MVPs do you want?
That's right. How many rings would you like to have? Because I'm going to continue the winning. Just like Donald. Because he's going to use so much of Donald Trump's platform that is already going to be laid down the tracks. He's going to keep the train on the tracks, except with social issues. Those are going to turn right.
And that's why, again, 44%, I was very surprised by that number being as high as it was.
Harry Hinton was probably shocked, too, and didn't want to admit to it. I bet if you ask him in his heart of hearts, was he surprised by that number? The answer would be yes. Morning Extra at Extra 106.3. Batya Ungar-Singar, she calls herself the Dem MAGA, the MAGA Democrat, which
just makes them crazy.
It makes them insane. They get.
What do you mean? Stop calling yourself that,
dude. They get so pissed at her, and she's very common sense, which is why all of a sudden they despise her. But she gives the best response. I want you to hear what she says about people calling Donald Trump Hitler.
And a person in half my family was murdered by the actual Hitler. In addition to it being deeply offensive to Jews, to call Trump Hitler is to call over 80 million Americans, 35% of Jewish Americans, 56% of Hispanic men, and the majority of Americans who make under $100,000 a year, Nazis, because those are the people who gave Donald Trump his victory. And I just have a pro tip for any Democrats who are thinking about winning back the working class, those people who make under $100,000 a year, who a majority of whom voted for Trump. You should have a visceral disgust for someone like Larry David, who's worth $400 million, sitting there and smearing the hardest working Americans for refusing to co-sign their own disinheritance. That's effectively what they are doing when these millionaires come out here and call Trump Hitler. They are calling working class Americans Nazis because they chose the person they thought would give their children back the future they were promised by this country. And it just has to stop.
Dude, the thing that stood out to me very most is as she's saying that, the people clearing their throats. They don't know where to go because she's exactly right.
So you tried fascist, which didn't really work. Trump's a fascist. Most people can't even put a definition on fascism.
As we found out
between my wife and her boss. What is this called when? It's not communism. It's not capitalism. But the
government has a heavy hand.
Decides like what they're going to manufacture and what they're going to sell it as and what price. I'm like, it's called fascism.
But they would not put it in.
That was a story from a couple months ago when I called Tug. I go, Tug, what is this considered? He goes, that's fascism. I was like, thank you. Okay. Anyway, but it's been so butchered that people thought for a while, like, it's a description of a form of government, and it's a description of the way that the public and private sector interact with one another. It's in a fascist nature. So they tried that. Then you had like the oligarchy tour. Now that didn't lay a glove on anybody because
nobody knew what it meant.
Most people can't describe what an oligarchy is or who the oligarchy is. What's the oligarchy? Does it happen to include a old man worth millions and millions and millions who has
taking
3 homes and taking private jets everywhere? He's fighting the oligarchy as the oligarchy. Okay, so that didn't work. So rather than really go with some new, beautiful, wonderful term, as Donald Trump would put it, big, beautiful, and wonderful, they just went to Nazis. Like, how lazy are you?
But it's worked for them. That's the reason.
No, it's worked for them in that this is how they describe everything.
That's right. Yeah.
What happens when actual bad people come along?
Yeah. You have no term. It's like, can I give you an example? Like, when I try not to use the word evil, like I try not to use that word because that's the end all be all. There's nothing past evil, right? So I try not to use that one. Because once you've used it, you dilute it. And that's what they've done with
They've made it have very little meaning.
Zero. It's almost like racist, man.
Exactly. They have taken these terms and they've worn them out to the point where they hold no power, no sway. They provide no information to anyone. If I said someone was a Nazi, that means that they are not just left. They're way to the left. They believe that their race is superior. Now, that's real racism. Mm-hmm. Not like prejudice. No. They believe they're from a superior race, from a superior being, and that they should inherit the earth. They should have power over all peoples. That's a Nazi. All Donald Trump did was cut your taxes.
So make the comparison. Please break out the Vacation Bible School felt board, put everybody's character on there, and point to the one that's actually a Nazi and which one's not.
So you lose the power over all of it.
Every bit of it.
Well, Tug, it's just because you're a Nazi. Yeah, you're right.
That's
Exactly.
right.
It's crazy. Yeah, you know.
But for what was it? From the time he was elected in 2016 up until about 2020, maybe 2021, it had worked with them. It had worked for them. So they
tried to run from it. Now it's just like, go for it. Y'all are so old.
That's exactly
We've
right.
had enough time that's passed that none of it works.
None of it. Because
you know Trump's a Nazi? Trump is Hitler. If I did a search on X right now, it would just be this ultra fringe that continues. They haven't gotten their new download. They don't know what the next line is they're supposed to use.
They're waiting on it. Because oligarchy was supposed to be it. That was supposed to work. And it didn't. And it hasn't.
It doesn't resonate.
No. None of I don't know. I don't know that there's going to be a title that will. A name that will. Because none have. Because he's proven every time they've given him one of those labels that it's not true. So now people just dismiss it to begin with.
You have to have a way to mock your opponent that resonates. Nazi doesn't. You know what does when I refer to them as the party of the lady men? Lady man works every time, making Jerry smile.
Because think about it. And it pisses them right off.
It's like, oh, y'all a bunch of lady men. It's like even those of you that are men, you're so demasculated that all you're left with is like, oh, here's my jazz hands, and what are we going to vote on next? Where are we going to protest? Bunch of lady men in buns. That hits. That works.
Because it's real.
Calling one of us MAGA or maggots, I'm like, who cares?
Dude.
You come up with something new.
They're never going to be able to.
A bunch of cat lady men. Bunch of wine box guzzling lady boys.
That's right. 9 o'clock hours brought to you by Southern Exteriors, your home exterior solution since 1999.
Go put on Friends. Put on some slippers. Sit there and cry with some Bluebell.
Yeah.
Tell me about what. Put on Love Is Blind and tell me about how you're just looking for love. A bunch of incels, man.
9 o'clock hours brought to you by Southern Exteriors.
Got no hope of real female companionship.
Ever, dude. Ever.
And the other part is, then the ladies who want to date you, then don't want anything to do with you.
And they're attracted. I flagged something the other day. It comes up once in a while. A new lady on the left saying, I'm really attracted to a conservative.
The party of cat ladies and lady men. That's what y'all are.
On blue sky, talking to one another by yourselves because nobody else is there. 9 o'clock hours brought to you by Southern Exteriors, your home exterior solution since 1999. Windows, doors, siding, roofing, gutters. They do all things related to the outside of your home. 10% off any deal or any job that you choose, or 12 months, 0% financing, 8779 southernexteriors.co. When we come back, the New York Times is not reporting on the biggest story in the city next.
Xtra 106.3 is Atlanta's home for NASCAR, and we have live races every weekend from across the country. Check out Xtra1063.com for the full schedule and join us this weekend for live NASCAR action.
Hey, it's Tug. So, humidity, spring storms. I mean, we even had sightings of tornadoes I saw posted over the weekend when I was out of town. Your house takes a beating just by living where you live, and that's why Southern Exteriors is so important. They were built for this. They install roofs, siding, windows, gutters with quality and precision that holds up in the real world. Those real world issues that your house faces. And right now, you can get 10% off any job or 12 months, 0% financing. Hey, it's Tug, and I know these guys. They do not cut corners. They do not leave a mess behind. They have a foreman on site, so if you have any questions, if you have any things that you're concerned with, you can just ask them. You don't have to call people. You don't have to track people down. You don't have to ask the guy that's making the mistake as it's happening. Believe me, I experienced that in the last 7 months. I wish Southern Exteriors would do interiors, too, because that's where I had my mess. But they just do the job right. They're dependable, and you can call them at 8779-SOUTHERN or go to southernexteriors.co. Do not make the mistake of not getting the website right. southernexteriors.co. 877-9-SOUTHERN, southernexteriors.co.
Millions of guys suffer from erectile dysfunction. That's 1 in 3 men. And I can tell you, I'm one of them.
If you or someone you know suffers from ED, Peyronie's disease, or PE, here's 38-year emergency room doctor and founder of Total Body Therapy of Georgia, Dr. Eric Deal.
Patients who enter my office are often frustrated, hopeless, depressed, and embarrassed. I understand the problem, and I'm going to help you fix it. We provide testosterone replacement therapy, the P shot, and treatment for ED, PE, and Peyronie's disease. There's not just one therapy that can solve these complex issues. When you visit our clinic, you're going to see me. I'll do a complete history and physical prior to any treatment that we use. Take it from me, Dr. Deal. When it's not hard, it's really hard.
Call Dr. Deal for your free one-on-one evaluation and resolve your ED, Peyronie's, or PE issues. 404-777-1911. Total Body Therapy of Georgia. 404-777-1911. Online at tbtofga.com.
When it comes to preparing for a crisis, it doesn't matter if you're a year early, a month early, or a day early, but you can't be a day late. That's why millions of Americans trust My Patriot Supply, the nation's largest preparedness company. Right now, you can get their 4-week emergency food supply, plus an incredible bonus, 4 free 72-hour food kits. That's an extra 12 days worth of food, absolutely free. This kit provides hearty, delicious meals for 4 weeks with 2,000 plus calories per day, 12 essential vitamins and minerals, and a shelf life of up to 25 years. And for a limited time, they're including 12 additional days of food absolutely free, which means right now is the best time to get prepared. Go to MyPatriotSupply.com today to claim your 4-week food kit, plus an extra 12 days of free food. Offer ends soon. Shop MyPatriotSupply.com today. MyPatriotSupply.com.
Sequoia National Golf Club is located 45 minutes west of Asheville, North Carolina, and nestled among the Oak, Fir, and Flowered Valleys in the heart of the Great Smoky Mountains. Owned by the Eastern Band of the Cherokee, this Robert Trent Jones II design offers an idyllic 18-hole journey filled with panoramic vistas on every hole, beautiful landscapes, and a fun mountain golf experience. Enjoy a relaxed lunch or afternoon beverage on the outdoor deck with 180-degree views of the Great Smoky Mountains. The surrounding community also provides golfers a welcoming environment that is rich with Native American culture and exciting year-round attractions. Sequoia National Golf Club is just 4 miles from Harrah's Cherokee Casino Resort and just a short drive from Atlanta. Experience a fun afternoon of golf with your friends or stick around for an epic stay-and-play weekend. Experience mountain golf at its finest and then go hit the casino floor. Book your tee time at sequoianational.com. That's sequoianational.com. Experience the majesty and beauty of Sequoia National, mountain golf at its finest.
The stories that matter to you. These are your Georgia headlines.
Here are your headlines for Tuesday, May 6th. A court hearing is scheduled today for Colt Gray, the alleged gunman in the Appalachia High School shooting last September. He is accused of shooting 11 people and killing 2 students and 2 teachers. He faces 55 charges, including malice and felony murder. A Honduran national who ICE says was in the country illegally since 2021 has pleaded not guilty in the murder of a 52-year-old grandmother in Cobb County. And Governor Brian Kemp released a statement Monday night saying he will not run for Senate next year. Today's weather, partly cloudy with a high of 78. Tomorrow looks like scattered showers and cooler temperatures. With your headlines, I'm Jerry Payne.
The 9 o'clock hour is brought to you by Southern Exteriors, your home exterior solution since 1999. They are offering for windows, doors, siding, roofing, gutters, 10% off any job or 12 months, 0% financing. 877-9-SOUTHERN, southernexteriors.co. This story is one that I saw over the weekend and couldn't believe what I was reading. It's the most alarming, disturbing, disgusting story that maybe you'll hear about today or maybe even in your life. I mean, this one's up there. This is a bizarre, I don't know how else to put it.
You know what the story is?
Yeah.
That it's not a story.
Well, right. Right, the fact that the New York Times not covering it whatsoever.
So you have Felix Rojas, and the story in the New York Times is that there is a man who found this person dying in New York, right?
On the subway.
Found him on the subway.
Yeah.
And rather than help them, Rojas robbed him. But didn't just rob him. He then returned later to rape his corpse. And you go, well, that's pretty horrible. Like, so you robbed the guy and then decided to come back later because you weren't done humiliating this person who has now died on the subway. What the New York Times won't tell you is that Rojas is not supposed to be here legally. Because every time you hear this, you start to say, what kind of barbarians have we allowed into this country? It's one thing if you're going to rob someone. And I think that would be grounds for you to be out of here. What kind of deranged mental weirdo that Donald Trump said was coming in this country? Did you not just rob a man who's dying, didn't help that person, but then decided, you know what? I really feel rapey after that. And the New York Times never once mentioned that Rojas was not supposed to be here legally.
Well, that's not in their playbook. That's not, telling the truth is not what the New York Times does. They sell a narrative to the people that subscribe to that newspaper, the few that are left. They know that by telling that part of the story, it would turn off their listeners, their viewers, rather, their readers. They know that their readers would not want to hear that. They would rather not know that. They would be just fine not knowing that. And if they did know him, they would defend him anyway.
Whereas the New York Post will flat out tell you this guy has come across 5 different times. He's been sent out of the country. And yet the New York Times will not report that to their readers. It's just meant to be like a shock case. Oh, that sounds terrible. I can't believe that. What a horrible place. The person was let in under the previous administration. These are the people we're trying to get out. Every time they try and turn it into, oh, the Maryland man. Oh, it's the abuela. She just wants to clean your house. No, it's Jeff. He came from Czechoslovakia, and all he wants to do is paint your walls. No. This is different. This is nasty. You had, by and large, a lot of the third world send us their problems.
Because why wouldn't they?
Tax-free for them. They don't have to worry about it.
All they know is our problem isn't our problem anymore.
Exactly. It's out of our country.
We're just fine with it. Donald Trump, remember, he was called every name in the book for saying they're emptying the mental institutions. You're trying to tell me that dude doesn't belong in a mental institution? Because he does.
Do you think that the President of the United States, who every single morning he receives a daily briefing, and he gets to learn about all the potential threats that are going on around the world and all the intelligence that is necessary for the commander-in-chief to know, do you think he was sitting there telling you that they're emptying out their mental institutions and sending them to us without the intelligence to know that was going on? Of course he did. But yet the media treated it as like, well, it's just Trump being bombastic. He's just trying to paint these people in a way that allows you to visit upon them cruelty. The guy robbed a dying man and then raped the corpse. It's pretty hard for a 9 o'clock hour
just
story.
Just let that set in. You know,
it makes Maryland man look pretty rookie league,
like almost angelic.
It happened right here too. The Honduran that killed the woman, 52-year-old grandmother, and raped her.
Yes, after she was dead. This is not a matter of going, oh, all these are people that just want to come to your country and they all share your values.
But that's the thing.
No.
They've not been asked, even not that these people would, not the people that we're talking about would share your values to begin with. But even the people like the abuela, let's say there is an abuela that did share your values. She wasn't asked to. She was actually, if you were to say you have to assimilate, you are the problem. You're the bad guy. And the New York Times won't even tell you who the bad guy really is, because the New York Times would have come after you, Los. They would have come after me if I said, you know what, we need to assimilate. Let's make sure that we're doing things and we all kind of live in a very similar way. Assimilation was a cuss word that you might as well said racism, sexism, transphobe. They all group in there together.
Considering that Maryland man consumed how much news media and 96% of it was considered positive, you won't see this story anywhere.
Except New York Post?
They won't cover it. It's too vile. It doesn't fit the narrative. And yet this happened. In fact, I'm not sure even how many of our listeners knew about this story.
I saw it over the weekend and couldn't believe what I didn't even share it with my wife. Usually if it's a story like, you won't believe it, I'll be like, hey, look out for this story. Be aware that this is about to be a big story. And then it went nowhere.
And by the way, just to add a little bit of extra of maybe it'll steal your gut a little bit about this stuff, that maybe you won't have much of a problem with Maryland Man. And the next time you hear from liberal Aunt Peg about, we sent a guy over to an El Salvadorian prison, and you want to say, he's a gang member. How do you know he's a gang member? Well, 2 courts found that he's a gang member. Well, his wife had a order of protection, 2 of them, because of how he was beating on her. The next time she goes down that road, ask her about Felix Rojas. And that not only did he rob a dying man, then rape the corpse, but this wasn't a small thing. He did it for 30 minutes.
On a subway.
Let that sink in as to what is in your country right now illegally and not supposed to be here, Aunt Peg. He was just here for a better life. No.
Pair that with the man that set the woman on fire. I mean, it's right along the same lines, man.
It's mentally ill.
It is derangement.
Deranged people. That's what came in here. Yes, you are going to find there will be regular people. And you know what? If they're that regular, they will self-deport. They will try to get back into this country. We have an extensive work visa program. If they show that they are capable, you'll even have employers that'll get involved with trying to, hey, I know you got it. I'll see about getting you back in this country. We'll get you a work visa. You come back and work for this company. That is real. That does happen. But not every single one of them is clean as the wind-driven snow. And many of them are mentally deranged.
The crazy thing about it all is that you're labeled a way if you notice this. You're the problem. Not that guy. Not Felix Rojas. You're labeled that way. Me, I'm labeled that way. Los, Jure, we're all labeled a particular way. That doesn't matter. I could care less. Just don't care what people think about me. I used to. And then doing this show long enough, you stop. Because people will call in and say terrible things, and you're just like, what's that got to do with me? You're not helping me feed my family. You're not helping me put food on the table. You're not helping me do anything. You're a distraction at best. And it's very clear what needs to happen in America. And the American people voted for it in landslide way.
We're more than comfortable with it.
And the polling continues to echo that.
We've had as much. We have 56% of all Americans that say we want every illegal out. We have 76% of all Americans that say if they've committed a crime, whether it's here or in their home country, they're out too. That is an 80-20 issue if there ever was one. And about the only people that are pulling against that is the media and the far left.
And the 20%.
Because you require, if you're ever going to institute a massive change to this country in the way of moving more towards communism or any other leftist ideal, it requires mayhem on the streets.
And they're trying to get to it.
Why do you think that they defend this stuff?
They loved 2020.
They need mayhem and chaos on the streets. They were actually able to rig an entire American election based on chaos in the streets and a virus out there.
And they're trying to do it again. That's why what's happening in Washington State today and over the weekend is happening.
Yeah.
They've sent the street commies back out.
Street commies are out in Seattle.
Yes, they are. Yeah, and they've already taken over a couple buildings at the University of Washington.
That's another one of those stories. I haven't seen that on MSNBC.
You won't.
That's one of those that they will not report on. They do not want you to know what the street communists are doing.
But it's happening.
But it's happening. That's what is going on in Seattle right now.
Do a quick Google search. Even Google. I'm going to test the theory. University of Washington.
I just went with Seattle, Washington. Happening now. The University of Washington, Seattle has literally turned into a dumpster fire. School leaders are allowing Antifa and pro-Hamas activists to dictate the terms. Taxpayer dollars down the drain at this public school.
As is the police department.
So
the police department is backing them down.
That's standard Tuesday for Seattle, isn't it?
Antifa militants are now starting fires near the engineering building at the University of Washington in Seattle. School leaders remain paralyzed. Cops are not moving in.
No, the cops are actually being pushed back.
Yes.
There's video of the Antifa members pushing the police back, and the police are doing nothing. But they know they can't because they don't.
They don't have the backing.
No. Believe me, as soon as they crack ahead, they're going to jail.
Yeah, that would be absolutely wonderful. That is an area of the country. Now, the couple times I've been there, it is awesome. It is outstanding. I love it. And to see what these people have done and what they've turned it into. I had a piece of audio from like a week or two ago, and we never got to it. We're just so busy. It's like there's stuff it just ends on the cutting room floor, and that's just what happens. But it was a man who had moved to Portland, and he was talking about how he's like, I showed up here. I'm pretty liberal. He's like, y'all are nuts. He's like, I got to move. He's like, I thought I was liberal. He's like, I'm not liberal.
Yeah.
I'm pretty centrist.
Yeah.
He's like, y'all are so far out there. And that's what they've done to places like Portland and places like Seattle. You crack some skulls, you fix some problems.
You do. Absolutely right. But will they? The answer is probably not. They're probably going to allow it to burn.
When we had all the issues with the protesters of Cop City, did you see when stuff kind of got resolved?
When they start cracking heads?
Somebody had to get shot. Somebody had to get killed for people to suddenly go, oh, maybe we're playing dumb games.
Yeah, and winning dumb prizes.
That's what stopped it the last time. It was the teens that got shot in the Jeep.
Was that
out wheeling around? That was when they were doing. That was 2020.
Okay. Was that Seattle?
I think so.
Is that what? So that would have been. Was that autonomous zones?
Yeah.
Was that? Yeah. I was trying to put it all back together because we're seeing it again. You might as well.
Don't think they ever solved that murder either.
No.
It's like you have to restore law and order into places.
That's right.
And sometimes that requires a dad to do it.
What was the name of that autonomous zone? What were they calling it?
I thought it was just the autonomous zone. I don't remember.
They had a name.
Oh, Chaz.
Chaz. That's right.
Chaz. What did that stood for? Something. Yeah. What it was something autonomous zone.
Yes.
This is what it equaled out to. Anyway, when we come back, CNN has become the cartel news network.
That place got really rapey too.
Yeah. No boy. No kidding. Dude.
It always goes back to that. Colts and autonomous zones.
Yeah.
Always ends the same way.
CNN, the cartel news network. Next on Extra.
The latest sports news, powered by 680 The Fan, and driven to extra listeners by RBM of Atlanta in Sandy Springs, Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz connection since 1964.
Good morning. Here are your sport headlines for Tuesday, May 6th. The Atlanta Braves continue the homestand as they beat the Cincinnati Reds last night. 4-1 the final. A.J. Smith-Shawver, outstanding last night, throwing a career-best 8 innings, giving up just 1 hit. Tonight, Chris Sale gets on the mound for the Braves. He'll be opposed by Andrew Abbott. First pitch is set for 7:15. You can hear that game live on our sister station's brand new app, 680 The Fan. The nation's top quarterback and second overall prospect has committed to the University of Georgia as 5-star Jared Curtis out of Nashville, Tennessee will be part of the 2026 recruiting class. He selected Georgia over Oregon as his finalist. With your sports headlines, I'm Carlos Medina. Hey, it's Front Office Lowe's here to tell you about a new company that is changing the way people buy their next pre-owned car or truck. At The Honest Car Guy, they offer a completely transparent way to purchase a vehicle. You pay what he pays, plus a small honest fee. You can choose any make or model. He will search the country for the best deal out there. He'll handle the paperwork, your trade-in, shipping, and even give you the bill of sale. Friends, I've done the research, and this is a buying process that you can trust. Call 844-SHOW-ME-1 or visit online at honestcarguy.com.
My name is Patrick, and I'm the Military Outreach Manager at the Warrior Alliance. I served in the U.S. Army as an airborne ranger and deployed to several combat zones in support of the global war on terror. Veterans bring excellence through our work ethic, skills, and civic duty. However, transitioning to civilian life can be difficult, as we all share a loss of purpose when leaving the military. Returning veterans have earned and deserve our support so they can thrive on their journey home. The Warrior Alliance understands the challenge and is helping warriors navigate to success after service. Join us in changing thousands of lives for the better. Donate today at thewarrioralliance.org.
Are you the type of consumer that likes to do your research before you choose a company? Well, then you need to join Dan Watkins, Chris Lolamy, and myself, Jim Niarchos, every Saturday morning at 9 for the All Four Seasons Home Show. We only vet local businesses with a proven history of integrity, competence, and solid customer service. The All Four Seasons Home Show helps you make a good consumer decision, save money, and not get ripped off. You can also follow our podcasts on Apple, Google, and Spotify. The All Four Seasons Home Show, Saturday mornings at 9, right here on Extra 106.3.
Did you know that Just like here in the U.S., Israel celebrates their Independence Day. In case you missed it, this year, Israel's Independence Day was just a few days ago on May 1st. But for the people of Israel, freedom is really nothing more than a daily struggle just to survive. There's no real peace, only terror. It's difficult to find moments of joy while there's so much suffering. And the Israeli government relies on the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews for its ongoing help to make sure the elderly, the sick, the wounded soldiers, and impoverished families don't fall through the cracks. We can't even imagine the courage of the Israeli people. They're so brave and worthy of our prayers, and that we'd like to ask you for a gift to the fellowship today. It'll provide life-saving aid, medicine, hearty meals, safety, and comfort. And I believe when we bless God's people of Israel, we unlock God's blessing in our own lives as well. So show your support for Israel by making a life-saving gift today. Call and make your gift at 888-488-IFCJ. That's 888-488-IFCJ, 4325. Or go online to supportifcj.org. One word, supportifcj.org.
Don't miss the first MLB All-Star Week event at Truist Park as talent meets tradition in the third annual HBCU Swingman Classic presented by T-Mobile and powered by the MLBPA Youth Development Foundation. Join fans, athletes, and alumni to watch Hall of Famer Ken Griffey Jr. shine a light on 50 of the best young ball players from HBCUs around the country on baseball's biggest stage, July 11th at 7 p.m. Get your tickets today at allstargame.com/swingman.
Securing America. The Navy's Chief of Naval Operations, Admiral James Kilby, spoke recently at a Washington, D.C. defense conference about the Navy's current priorities. He said a key point in time for control of the seas and beyond is not too far away.
We are responding to a call from our adversary, China, who said we want to be ready in 2027. Therefore, the United States Navy, and I would argue our military, must be ready.
Admiral Kilby says for the Navy, the key is not only building more ships, but making sure what we already have is ready to go.
80% combat surge ready aircraft, submarines, and ships.
Another key, having the right number of personnel.
Bringing in the sailors we need to man our ships fully. We have 23,000 gaps at sea now.
Kilby says America and its allies have to create dilemmas and problems for the Chinese to deal with. Kevin Uretsky, Fox News.
Stream Clay Travis and Buck Sexton, Glenn Beck, Fox News, and even NASCAR on Sundays. Anywhere on the Xtra 106.3 app. Download the app now and get 24/7 access to the live stream, the latest news, and everything you need to know about Atlanta's only conservative talk station. Download the Xtra 106.3 app for Apple or Android and check out even more great original content at thepodcastpark.com.
How many times over the years have you heard the Clinton News Network, the Communist News Network? Now you can add the Cartel News Network. CNN actually had a cartel member on to talk about how he feels about Donald Trump. And it sounds just as crazy as you think it does. And I can't imagine who thought this was a good plan. They're like, hey, why don't we give the cartels a platform? Because they don't have a big enough platform as it is. So the CNN host was asking, oh, what do you think about Donald Trump? And look, I got no problem. This dude's covered head to toe.
Yeah, you can't make out his identity.
He even has like latex gloves on.
Yeah, to protect all of his identity.
Absolutely, in case fingerprint, whatever he's touched or sat on the chair, sat out. It was just nuts. It said, hey, man, he's just looking out for his people. That's what the cartel member said. He was like, it's fine. We don't care that he's coming after us. Whatever, we're still going to do our business. Basically, our drug business is huge because there's a huge customer base in the United States, and that's where the interview went. But it just seems nuts that the CNN would be like, yeah, I got a great idea. Running this by the folks, be like, what about we cover a cartel member head to toe? And bring them in. Talk to them.
So I'd like to play this out logically.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of this.
Okay.
Just simple logic. For instance, if I wanted to talk about avionics and tracking threats at sea, would it not make sense to talk to, let's say, one Tug Howard about his experience in the Navy, and then if he brushened up on modern systems, explain what's now available?
Man. It was air search radars then, you know what? I would probably, because I wouldn't trust myself with it, I would probably call a friend who that was he became a Top Gun controller. He went out to Top Gun to control aircraft.
And so you would say, here's a level of expertise.
That's right.
And whatever I don't have, I'll go find it for you. When we have our friend Joey Jones show up on Fox and he talks about military action and what it's like serving in the field, it seems like a pretty solid person to go to.
For sure.
He made some sacrifices for his country, namely his legs and obviously the injuries he suffered as a bomb tech.
Sure.
I mean, that's pretty legitimate. CNN went to a Sinaloa cartel member to talk about the treatment of humanity.
What do you think?
Now, let me just give you a little quick description. The Sinaloa drug cartel has been in operation for the better part of about 20 years. When you had Medellin fall apart and all their cartels started splitting off, this is your Pablo Escobar days. When the factions split, you also had the same thing going on in Mexico, where the uniformity of what was going on, now it was a fight for territory and for influence. The Sinaloa drug cartel is thought to be responsible for between 350 and 400,000 deaths in 20 years.
Good heavens.
Let me give you that number again. Thought to be responsible for the deaths of 350 to 400,000 people. That is their level of violence. And CNN, went to a member to ask him about the treatment under Donald Trump and humanity?
But that's how lost at sea that mainstream media is. They have no idea which way is up. They don't know right from wrong. And if they do, they brush it under the carpet. Just like with your story in the last segment, with the fact that the New York Times would not tell you that man was an illegal alien.
I'm going to Tug Cowart to talk about naval service, what it means to him, what it meant to him, how it changed his life. I'm going to Joey Jones to talk about service in the field and the influence that Pete Hegseth is having and what it means to retired military men and what it means to military members of the future. CNN went to a member of the Sinaloa drug cartel to ask them about the inhumane treatment from Donald Trump.
CNN interviewing the cartel member. How do you feel about being labeled a terrorist?
Well, I am.
That's right.
That sounds pretty accurate.
That's right. Absolutely correct. Unbelievable. It's unbelievable that CNN would become the cartel news network, as much as we've made fun of them over the years for being communists, for being Clintons, now cartels. They continue to spiral out of control. They continue not to know where any sort of common sense lies, any sort of rational thought lies. These are people who clearly do not value telling you a story that has merit. They want to ask a terrorist how they feel about being called a terrorist.
Let me tell you another additional story, because, listen, I haven't watched Narcos. Apparently I'm supposed to watch Narcos if I really want to know all this sort of stuff. But I do, as a Texan, kind of pay attention to what goes on in Mexico. And one of the operations, if you remember the name El Chapo, he was the one that, because of an interview, eventually we got our hands on him. Indirectly because of Sean Penn. Long story there. But El Chapo's son ends up being the next guy in line. He's going to run the Sinaloa cartel. By the time the battle is over with between the cartel and your Mexican Marines, there's 800 dead. All right? It was a battle. As in, there is a terrorist organization with a fighting force capable of fighting your military in your own country. And so when you have, what do you feel about Donald Trump calling you a terrorist? Be like, well, we are.
Yeah.
We're our own state of power.
Yeah, we actually appreciate it.
We actually help run Mexico.
Well, and if you recall, it was this weekend when Donald Trump was asked about Claudia Sheinbaum saying no, not to use the U.S. military on cartels. And Trump says to the reporter on News Nation, she's a lovely woman, but she is so afraid of the cartels, she can't even think straight. And that's the truth. That is the God's honest truth. They run Mexico.
When this fight occurred in Mexico, and I've got to remember the year. I've got it as, let's see, this was 2019. When this battle happened, you had the cartels roll up on the military. They had bulletproof vests, armored vehicles, rocket launch. They had all the same military hardware as the Mexican military did. And you think that CNN is going to go and what do you think about being called a terrorist? What do you think about Donald Trump and his humanity? This is unintentional comedy. Is what they did.
Can you just imagine taking the phone call? You want to come talk to us? You want to interview us? Like, what? Sure, all right.
Because
Break
for
out
them,
the balaclava.
But for real, for them, this is great press.
Sure.
It just solidifies the fact that they're so dangerous and that no one has control of them. This is nothing but a propaganda piece for them. They think it's great.
They really thought if we go to this person and we talk to them, it's going to put Donald Trump in a position where he's going to look like the bad guy, not the organization that over 20 years has killed 350 to 400,000 people. Not the organization that when it came to in 2019, we're going to launch a military exercise, a military assault on the Mexican government and show you all the stuff we got and run you out of this town.
And it was back in February, if you recall, that the Mexican cartels said that they are going to allow the targeting of Border Patrol agents, military members, using drones and explosives and anything else that they have at their disposal, which is everything, including stuff probably that the Americans left in Afghanistan.
You had the Sinaloa drug cartel in 2019 make January 6ers look like, I don't know,
child's play,
a nice little concert.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, like there's no comparison here, and that's who they went to interview to try and paint Trump into a corner.
But that is where CNN is just valueless, and wonder why no one pays attention, and no one will.
They decapitate people to send messages,
and have done a good job of it. And CNN just promoted it for them. That'll do it for us. Appreciate you being here. For Los and Dre, I'm Tug. Y'all come back now, yeah?
Attention Warriors, are you a veteran ready to navigate to success after service? Tune in to the Warrior Alliance Network. Join us as we spotlight inspiring stories, provide essential resources, and connect you with a community dedicated to empowering veterans. From career advice to health and wellness tips, the Warrior Alliance Network is your go-to hub for post-service success. Tune in Saturday mornings at 11 a.m. on Xtra 106.3. Join us on the mission, the Warrior Alliance Network, where warriors thrive together. Visit us at thewarrioralliance.org for more information.
Want the truth about shopping for new floors? Big box stores might have flooring departments, but Empire Today has flooring experts. There's a huge difference. At a big box store, you might be getting help from someone who's in flooring today, but was stocking toilets yesterday. With Empire, you'll work with a dedicated flooring expert. We bring the store to your home, help find the right floors for your lifestyle, and answer questions. All while you view hundreds of samples with your own furniture, decor, and lighting. You'll get an all-inclusive price estimate and can schedule installation as soon as the next day for in-stock styles. That's Empire's Home Floor Advantage, working with experts who specialize in one thing, flooring. For a limited time, use code RADIO to get $500 off your contract of $3,500 or more when you call or visit EmpireToday.com. That's $500 off with code RADIO. You know the number.
800-588-2300 Empire.
Today. Offer may not be applied to sales or combined with other coupons, discounts, or savings. Terms apply.